Good evening, everyone. I will open up tonight's Conservation Commission hearings for Thursday, May 8th, 2025, Aquiet Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North. Our meeting is being broadcast live on local channel 8 and 1072, and also streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website. This meeting will also be available as a hybrid remote Zoom meeting with the ID and passcode provided on the agenda. Before we do begin, if you would like to join me in a Pledge of Allegiance, please do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with a moment of silence. Thank you. First item up tonight is public comment. So if there is someone here that came to address the commission on any agenda items that are not listed on our agenda, this would be the time to speak. Anyone? No one? And we're good online, Dan? Nobody dropping in to see us? Okay.
Nope.
Tonight I'm going to move things around a little bit, so if you have a copy of the agenda, I'm not going to go in a linear fashion with the RDAs and the NOIs and the COCs. I'm going to skip around a little bit, and there's a reason for that. So before we begin our pre- and post-hearing agenda items, I will go directly to the hearings, and the first one that I'm going to call is 111 Timber Lane Drive, 318 Main Street, 2 Great Neck Road North, 42 Meeting House Road, 0 Dry Hollow Lane, Town of Mashpee Sewer Commission. Notice of intent application for proposed construction and maintenance of pump station associated with the Town of Mashpee Wastewater Department Phase 2 Collection System Improvement Project. 11 Timber Lane Drive, Assessors Map 22, Parcel 21, Owner of Record, Town of Mashpee. 318 Main Street, Assessors Map 36, Parcel 45, Owner of Record, Town of Mashpee. 2 Great Neck Road North, Assessors Map 36, Parcel 15, Owner of Record, Town of Mashpee. 42 Meeting House Road, Assessors Map 36, Parcel 31, Owner of Record, Town of Mashpee. 0 Dry Hollow Lane, Assessors Map 83, Parcel 102A, Owner of Record, Dry Hollow Property Owners. Good evening, gentlemen. If I could have your names for the record, we could begin.
Good evening. My name is Eric Woodbury. I am a project engineer with GHD.
I'm Mark Drainville with GHD.
So,
Thank you.
we can jump right into it.
There we go.
So just tell me what plan you want, and I can hop right to that one.
Oh, okay. So if you go to, I had a slideshow prepared here, but if you can jump to C605, or this is fine. This is good? Yep, so this is C101. So this is the pump station that's located at 111 Timber Lane Drive. And so you see here that, you know, the stormwater management facilities are designed to statically store and treat runoff from the 25-year storm, and those hatches right there, those stone hatches, are designed to convey overflows from the 100-year storm, you know, as an emergency overflow. and last round of treatment prior to any discharge to a resource area. So those bold lines there are the buffer lines, the 50 for the DEP buffers, and the 75, which is a Mashpee regulation there, yep.
Hold on for 1 second.
Sure, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you want us following along?
That would be up to you. I would recommend in the sake of a lot of
I just want
paper.
some direction on,
They are also they are not just in the binder, but they are there, but they're also on the screen up top, so you can follow along up there as well.
in other words, you don't want me to undo this whole thing?
It's your discretion if you want to and how much noise you want to make, that's all.
Looking for permission.
Sorry about that.
I'm
You
going
can
to follow along and assume that I know enough about it that it'll make sense.
Sure. I'll try to be as descriptive as possible.
Okay, I just don't want to be out of it.
Sure. So you see there that the entrance, the cut there, yep, so the entrance and there's a hatch, the driveway is also pervious paver, so they're the grass pavers, which will also allow a little bit of treatment and some infiltration capabilities for any runoff. During construction, while these are being built, some temporary basins will be constructed to, and runoff will be directed to them. So we're not just discharging, construction period runoff directly into the wetland. And proper sediment and erosion controls will be put in place. The dashed line, the bold dashed line that surrounds the site there will be silt socks that will filter any runoff prior to any discharge. And that's pretty standard for all of these sites. These stormwater controls and sedimentation and erosion controls will be present on all these pump station sites to make sure that we're protecting any dewatering activity that occurs, not only from the pump station, and we've discussed this before at a prior meeting, but also for the linear piece of the project. Any dewatering that occurs will be filtered through a filter bag on the end of the dewatering hose and directed to the town's drainage infrastructure where available. And on those catch basins, there will be silt sacks to further filter that runoff or that dewatering. And in extreme cases, which we don't think there's going to be a lot of this, but if there is extensive dewatering, we're prepared to install frac tanks as a further round of treatment prior to any discharge to a wetland or an outfall that may exist. And we actually have some details available for you guys to see on sheet. Some of those details, sediment material. So if you go to C501. C501. Next one.
This one here, sir?
Next one down, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Maybe one more down. One more. Keep going. Oh, this is the full set. So it'll be towards the end. It's in the
It will.
details section.
Getting dizzy, Dan, stop it.
All right. Hope we're almost there.
There they are.
I think I've got them.
There we go.
Some of them. And I kind of skipped ahead here, but these are the actual stormwater SCMs, the small-scale stormwater control measures. So we're planning on those, those stormwater bioretention areas. They're also going to serve as infiltration. So right now we plan on just having fescue grasses on the side slopes to slow down, to attenuate some of that flow, and then letting it naturally infiltrate. We'll get some nutrient removal and phosphorus removal through the soil and the plant media there. And then anything that fills up past that, that 25-year mark will then be directed through that emergency overflow, the emergency spillway, which is riprap and some trap rock prior to any discharge. So that's the primary treatment measure. It will be collected in just a deep sump hooded catch basin, and then piped into a flared end section on the side slopes of the bioretention areas. And those will mainly be serving the gutters, the roof leaders from the pump station to the electrical building. So those will go through the roof leaders, enter the catch basin with a pipe invert, but we'll also have a grate for surface flow, and then discharge into the retention areas. And again, this is standard for all the pump station sites. And then we'll also have some grass-lined swales, around the electrical building that will collect some runoff and then also be directed towards those bioretention areas. And if you go to the page above that, I'm thinking, oh, I'm sorry, below it. Oh, no, above it, you're right, yep. So that is yep, you're right, yep. So that is the flared end section there. Those are section views of the flared end sections. Has a little bit of a sump underneath the pipe invert, and then it's basically just riprap. And that landscape catch basin detail, those are going to be installed in low points and low areas, that could be potential for ponding, and it's just an added measure so that we're not, discharging untreated runoff to any kind of resource area. And then one above that, yeah, so these are the set and erosion control measures. So those are what I was speaking about before with the catch basin silt sacks and the silt socks. One thing I failed to mention that is if we do not have any existing infrastructure present, and this is more for the roadways, the linear work, we'll create a temporary basin. So any dewatering that happens, any run-on or run-off, we will direct it to a temporary sediment basin that we construct out of silt socks and hay bales, direct it there, and then let it naturally infiltrate. And yes, and so, yeah, there's a lot of plans in here, but those will be installed, throughout the length of the project, the linear project too. And so we spoke about this a little bit before, but this linear piece is it's underneath it's previously disturbed area, it's underneath the roadway, so is exempt from the filing with DEP. However, the contractor during construction will have to file for their construction permit, and will be able to use this. We can't dictate to them what their means and methods are as far as how they're going to dewater, but through this process and what we're presenting to you here, they'll have a template to put together their SWIP, their stormwater pollution prevention plan, and can kind of use that as a guide to create that and go with that during that phase. Yes, again. Yes, would you like me to go through each pump station individually?
Yeah, if you can go through them individually, not as, it doesn't have to be super in detail, but
Sure.
absolutely if you can go through them.
Okay, sure. So if we go back to the beginning, we'll just go right through. So we did Timber Lane, and the next one will be South Sandwich.
That'd be further down, correct?
Yep,
Yep.
it'll be, yeah, it's the slideshow. It'll be,
Whereabouts are you, Dan?
hmm?
When you're flipping through the clear Appendix C now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be up in Appendix A.
It's too
The
high.
sheet number itself is probably,
That's Timberlane, there we go.
it's probably 6.
This is South Sandwich?
Yep, that's it right there. So that's the pump station that's located on South Sandwich Road. There is a BVW, and there is also a certified vernal pool on the other side of the road. And you can see we're trying to stay as far away as possible as, from those wetland areas. So we're outside of the 75, but we are within the 150. And again, these control measures are standard for all the sites. So we have the the pervious pavers, and we have roof leaders that are directed to the right side, the east of the site there. You can kind of see it hatched in with crosses. That'll be the bioretention area. One over to the right, yep, right there. Again, that's sized to statically store the 25-year storm. the runoff from the 25-year storm, and then the emergency overflow will convey that 100-year event, where it's naturally going anyway, but with a final round of treatment. But again, with flared end sections, some put in catch basins where necessary, and roof leaders on the building. This is the Main Street pump station. So this pump station we added to the plans. This isn't in any kind of wetland or resource area, but it is in a historic district. It is, you know, part of that filing with DEP, so we had to send it to Mass Historical for their input. And we've had PAL out there. We just did an archaeological dig, and they had a negative determination. So we went through that process and have sent that off to them for their review, and they're issuing their findings. I think we might have that permit already. So again, this isn't in any wetland area, but we thought we'd add it just to have that discussion. So these measures are still standard for what we're doing for the other sites, though.
This is the Quashnet
This
Road?
is Quashnet, yep, so Quashnet, this is the Quashnet pump site. This one's a little bit, it's the same, but there's a little bit more elevation, terrain change to deal with, so we have some steep embankments here, and the river's on the other side, so what we're gonna do is utilize some natural depressions there down near the road, and we're going to direct, yep, right there on the left side of the entrance. It's kind of hard to make out right now, but there is a natural depression there. The finished elevation of the road is about 53. So we're going to grade it down, use that natural depression with grassline swales around from east to west around the site, direct that runoff from the hill and the rear of the site through that swale, and then you know, standard procedure for the actual impervious areas is, you know, roof leaders for the buildings, pervious pavers for the driveway entrance, with a flared end section into the end of the swale there as it enters the bioretention area. Oh, I will add too. So on that detail sheet that we kind of looked at, there was an erosion control blanket. So anywhere that we disturb, so you see that side slope there on the east of the site. Anywhere we disturb an existing embankment, we're going to install you know, the appropriate protections and restabilize that slope with an erosion control blanket and natural vegetation to restabilize that anywhere we disturb it. So, I'll add this here too. So groundwater is also in the forefront of our mind. So we do have an idea of where that is seasonally. We did an extensive boring program, and that's one of the reasons why we're going with these bioretention areas, is to keep that 2-foot separation wherever we can to the seasonal high groundwater. So, yep, this is actually the E2 pump station, but this is off of Jack Bond Road, and similar to the last, we're going to use a natural depression to the rear of the site, to the northwest there. You know, let you know, gravity do its work. Let the earth work for us. So we're going to direct all the runoff to that area, again through flared end section and some. You know, at the end of that flared end section, you can see there's a energy dissipator. We're just going to rip wrap that whole slope with a little bit of a sump underneath the invert, slow it down, you know, direct that roof runoff there, and then, you know, with a swale, let that the rest occur naturally and infiltrate. I will say too, here is one of the low, so you'll see the catch basin in front of the site there. It's an existing, it's shown a little to the south. It's existing, so it's a light gray.
Oh.
Yeah, right there. So we are planning on, if there's dewatering that happens here, we are planning on using that. And this is one of the areas that I mentioned before where we may need a frac tank. That's not certain, but we're thinking that there could potentially be quite a bit of volume coming out of the trench. We'll take all the appropriate steps to make sure that we're getting treatment and we're not overloading that system. And this is just an example of one of the linear plans that shows some of the erosion control with those silt socks around the trench, not only to control the runoff occurring from construction activities, but also the run-on into the trench. So those will be installed throughout the length of the project. That, I mean, that's kind of the method that we're going with. And I think that, yeah, I think that concludes our presentation.
Okay. Mark, is there anything you would like to add at this time, or?
I'm here just for assistance, so.
Okay, great. So I will go to commissioners first for any questions or comments that you might have.
Okay, I'll start. Quick question. I notice on the notice it says 0 Dry Hollow Lane, but then all your plans say Jack Bond Road is, and the plans don't show any, I know there's dry hollows on the other side. Is that?
Yes, that's just the way the parcel is in the assessor's maps and in the assessor's database. That's how it's listed, was 0 Dry Hollow Lane. It's off of Jack Bond Road, but that parcel kind of extends all the way back. It's quite a large parcel, so that's why that it's shown on Jack
Okay.
Bond Road. Yeah, so it is a little misleading.
That's what I thought,
Yes,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
figured I'd just go
Yes,
for
yeah.
clarification. Okay, the other question is, you know, I understand how you caption a lot of runoff and erosion control, but I'm not seeing any planting plans with these
Sure.
pump stations. You know, I see fencing around some of them.
Yep.
The one in Timber Lane doesn't have any fencing, and so are there any planting plans can be presented?
Yes, there will be, and we can get those over to you. So the team that's putting together the pump station plans, we kind of put together this packet specifically for this purpose, and that's something that's still coming to 100% as far as what plantings the client would prefer. As far as on the bioretention areas, the stormwater side of it, you know, fescue grasses are the easiest thing to maintain, the easiest thing to install. Anything beyond that, I will say that any trees that we're cutting down, we will have tree planting plans and replacement for those. But as far as in those specific areas, as of right now, we just have fescue grasses, and we'll show a detail with it and a planting plan for it.
Yeah, because especially the one in Timber Lane, you're all within a 150-foot buffer.
Sure.
And looks like you're gonna just clear cut that whole lot.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm saying, okay, how many trees are being taken down, what plantings going in, how are you gonna buffer the neighborhood?
Sure.
Especially the one in Jack Bond, you're putting it right between some houses.
Sure.
So, you know, the one that's out here on Main Street is right behind this building, so.
Sure.
You know, that's a wooded area, it's not too bad, but Timber Lane, Jack Bond, those ones are right in, you know, next to people's homes and.
Sure.
You know, and especially Timber Lane where, you know, the whole parcel's within the 150-foot buffer.
Sure, yep, and so, and we will be providing screening, and it's the preference of the board for it to be, you know, natural screening, right, not just fence. And we will, you know, install those measures.
Is that
And
the
replace
parcel,
trees.
Dan? right
This is
there?
Timber Lane, and I can go to Jack Bond if you would like.
Yeah, so Timber Lane, that's one, yeah, so the whole parcel's right there, right?
Yeah, this is the town landing going down 125, whereas DPW has that project that was approved last time
Yeah.
for the whole thing, so this is.
Okay, so when you look at it, the town landing road comes right down the side, okay, and that's Timber Lane there, all right. Okay, yeah, I looked at it earlier, the same thing, yeah,
Yeah.
trying to understand it, yeah, so, yeah, this house right across the street, and wooded area, so, okay, and then, can you move to Jack Bond?
Yep.
Thank you.
I will add on Timber Lane, one of the reasons for the location of that site was to preserve some of the existing trees that are there, some of the large oaks. So I'll add that on.
Yeah,
on
there
that-
are.
That one specifically.
There are extremely large oaks on the
Yes.
corner there
Yeah.
that would be great to be preserved.
Okay, okay, so, yeah, that's a funky piece around, between the neighborhoods there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Dry Hollow, I want to say that's their HOA area or whatever they are. That's their open space for the development there.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That's all I have for questions right now.
Yes, Steve? Someone else? Questions? No? Marjorie, nothing? through those pages now. Any questions, Marjorie?
So I have a question for you, Mr. Chairman. What would you like in terms of timing for us to do as a commission to be moving throughout all, it's such a complex project, obviously.
Several of them, yeah.
That's an understatement. What would you set as a goal for us to do on a weekly basis here so that we'll focus on the right?
Well, the planting plans are, those planting plans are critical. I would certainly want to see what is being proposed
Okay.
once the structure's in place, especially for privacy screening. And also for the retentions of the soils that have been disturbed, you know, the various species that we would like to see.
So is this the time to do it now?
Well, I kind of hoped we would have a planting plan. Did you say, Eric, that
It's in
Does
development.
exist?
Yes, it's in development, yep.
in development?
Yes.
What does that mean, though, in terms, I don't mean to be a pain in the butt, well, I do, really.
Well,
Sure.
What is it in terms of
Sure,
timing?
as we kind of get closer to the bid date, just some of those final touches as far as, so the site plans are put together, and that entails a lot, you know, with mechanical and electrical, and a lot of different disciplines are
I know.
are involved, right? So
Yeah.
some of those final touches are happening as we speak. So that's that's an imminent thing. So as far as in development, the site plans are set. Now what plants are going to be planted, those are discussions and things that are happening right now. So I'll say imminently.
Imminent.
Imminently available.
Okay, see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Well, I don't know about that imminent.
No, okay, I just want to sort of get a sense for order of business and what we should be prepared to take a position on.
yeah, absolutely. Other questions? Neil, Shauna?
Once everything's in, and we fast forward, is how much work actually needs to be ongoing on these sites? Is this something that the resource area will continue to kind of get nipped at? Oh, sorry. So the question is, once the plants have been established, how much ongoing traffic and kind of activity will be going on these sites?
Evening, Jared Meter, wastewater superintendent. So on average, the sites get a visit each day. An operator will come in, they'll walk throughout the building, make sure everything's running, nothing's in alarm, do a quick outside check, make sure there's no vandalism, nobody tried to force open a hatch, anything that's safety. So at least once a day, somebody's out there walking around. We also clean up the site if we see trash, things like that, because that's a direct reflection on us, even if we didn't put it there. So pretty much every day, somebody's going to be there at one point or another.
But there wouldn't be ongoing construction or maintenance or
No, the only
tweaks to
time,
the
occasionally,
design?
things do break, but
Okay, yeah.
being a brand-new system, that'll be hopefully years out. Don't want to jinx myself, but hopefully years out. And then usually, it's very rarely you work at a pump station. And that's why a lot of the layout is we've adjusted it so that the pervious road usually is right next to where we got to be, so there should not be anybody wandering around in the woods or trying to drive vehicles back there. We've deliberately laid it out so we have very quick access without damaging the off area for driving.
I think the vast majority of the time that you look at a pumping station, you're going to see no activity.
Just a follow-up question. If there were an issue, pump failure, is there an alarm system on that? And would that be audible to the neighbors, or is that something that you would just be electronically notified? How does that work out?
Yes, these systems are going to be connected to what we call SCADA. Back to the plant, there will be an on-call operator 24/7. So if that call comes in, there won't be an alarm, there won't be lights flash or anything like that. We'll just get a phone call, we show up. Ideally, we like to sneak in and out with nobody ever knowing.
Okay, thank you. While commissioners are still thinking about a question, I'm going to ask you, Eric. When you were covering the Timber Lane site, you had mentioned the bioretention detail. and it was geared to a 25-year storm frequency.
Yes.
Do you have the same standards for these other
Yes.
areas for each lot?
Yes.
Do you feel as though 25-year is sufficient?
Yeah, I do. It's actually quite a bit of volume versus the amount of impervious area that we have. And, that's the storage number that was calculated, that's below freeboard. So that's statically storing, so assuming no infiltration. So if nothing was draining as it was filling up, the 25-year event would fit inside that basin. Which, that's not going to occur. So as it's filling up, it's going to be draining. So that 25-year frequency and the volume that's associated with it is pretty conservative, actually. And then that emergency overflow will also, in a 100-year event, will prevent large-scale erosion, especially on some of those steep embankments.
And for those that might not know, do you have the amount of inches of precipitation in a 25-year event?
Off the top of my head, I think it's somewhere around 6.5 inches.
6.5.
I believe, but don't quote me on that. It's somewhere around there. It's quite a bit.
I always assume
Maybe it's
5-ish.
5. Yeah.
5.2 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Somewhere close to that. It's quite a bit.
Okay. And the terrain is comparable in all of these sites?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the nature of pump stations. A lot of them are in low-lying areas. That's kind of where they want to be in the sewer shed. The one on Timber Lane is a little unique. It's kind of sitting at that top of a hill. But other than that, they're pretty similar, the other sites, yes.
And the one site that you mentioned with the certified vernal pool within,
Yep, South Sandwich, yep.
can you focus a little bit more on that and tell me, I think you said within 75 feet, did you mention?
From the vernal pool, we're actually outside of the 75. So the vernal pool, we're outside of the 100, actually, right outside of it. So we're within the 150-foot buffer, for Mashpee regulations, but we are outside of the 100. And we're outside of the 75-foot buffer to the BVW that's to the west. But we did scooch it back a bit, pardon the technical term of scooch, but away from the vernal pool a bit for that reason.
Yeah, because you can't go inside that 100, you know that.
Yes.
And the associated bioretention detail that would protect that vernal pool, can that be beefed up a little bit,
If it's
just in case?
sure, it can be sized a 50-year storm.
I'd be more comfortable seeing that,
Sure.
because once we lose it, we lose it.
Sure,
And I
yep.
don't want to see that happen.
Yep, sure. And there's ways we can, without making a bigger impact to the site, we can also, for that one specifically, maybe add some under drains to help that draw down a little quicker.
Yeah.
Yep. We can
Out of
certainly-
all these, that's the one that caught my attention
Sure.
immediately.
Sure.
Other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, just if there's a power failure, do you guys have backup, standby generators to keep the pump stations going?
Yes, that'd be the plan, yes. And there's some reserve built into that wet well, the way it's designed as well. And then, obviously in the case of some kind of catastrophic thing, I mean, you have your pumper trucks that would come in and emergency bypasses to circulate it back into the system. But yeah, those measures are in place.
Anything,
A
Steve?
Follow-up question. So I was looking at all the other pump stations, except Timberline doesn't have any fencing around it. All the other ones have fencing. So,
I believe Timber Lane does have a fence. There was actually talk of E2, one on Jack Bond, because there's so much existing vegetation, of maybe scaling that fence back up closer to the site and only enclosing a smaller area to use some of that natural screening on the road.
yeah, I'm not seeing it, the fence on this plan here.
That could be just some line work
On
issues.
CI 101, so. Because when you look at the fence on, you can see it on the other stations, but I don't see it there.
So on this site here, we actually put the fence so it's closer to the building and encircle in the generator, which you can see to the side. that is the fence right there. The reason why we wanted to insist that it stays there is because when that generator does kick off to exercise or during a storm, we wanted to minimize the noise pollution to the neighborhood.
Right, but
So
when
that-
you look at all the other stations, there's fencing surrounding all the other equipment, and Timberlane doesn't have it.
Right, we did that purposely just because the area that we're asked to stay in, which is there's a walking trail that you can kind of see. We were trying to stay, not encroach upon that. Plus, in order to get all the bioswales and everything like that, the fence, it would have looked horrible, and it would have been left, right, just trying to get around everything. So this was the best way to meet the request that was made from the Conservation Department to fit it into this area. But the one thing we didn't want to sacrifice is that around the generator, just because the noise pollution mainly. It is gonna exercise once a week for a half hour in the middle of the day, and I just want to not have anybody complain about that.
All right, so what are the reason for the fencing around the other pumping stations?
Just site security, but you'll notice in the current phase we're in now, Phase 1A, if you go out to Brewster Road, there's going to be no fence at all.
Right.
It's very site-specific. Brewster Road, just because nobody wants to look at the side of a fence as they're trying to come up to an intersection. We removed it in this case. Since it's set back further in the woods, it made more sense just to definitely get around the generator. We don't really need to go near anything else because it's all underground. Nobody can really damage anything with it underground.
Okay, it just, all right, thank you.
Anything else from commissioners? We're good? Agents, Dan or Drew?
Yeah, so one more thing to add, just for the commission's edification. Any areas that lie within National Heritage and Endangered Species Program jurisdiction, rare species habitat, there was a letter of determination issued stating that projects like this are exempt from NHESP review and jurisdiction, so just want FYI on that. Regarding some of the comments about the planting plans, and I don't say this to say that they're dismiss the importance of them, but the details as far as that were put forth as far as erosion control, minimizing impacts to the buffer zone, and impacts to wetlands, I consider to be the primary concerns regarding this project. And I'm confident that a planting plan will be forthcoming, but I don't think it should hold up deliberation or decision, respectfully. No other questions, no other comments.
Okay, thank you. Dan, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I do understand. I know there's questions with the fence that I do get. I do know from talking with the superintendent of wastewater and some of the staff that is site-specific based on the neighbors. So I would imagine if there was any concerns from the neighbors, you would accommodate that, or if you already haven't, quite frankly. So I just wanted to cover that. But no, other than that, this is a I don't want to say it's straightforward. It's a very large project. But what you have before us tonight is very straightforward. They are in buffer zones to wetland resource areas. There's no question in that. But from my understanding, the pipe itself is going to be sealed. There's going to be no injection, nothing into the ground. It's just a transfer station, literally. So yeah, I have no issues with that, and I think this is a very strong project for the phase we're in.
Okay, thank you. I'll go out to the public for any questions or comments that someone has. Yes, sir. If you would come up, please, and
So
give your
gentlemen, there's
name
going to be
for
some
the
public
record.
talking. They might want to sit there, just so you know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Monahan, 36 Jack Bond Road. I think my house is probably going to be within 100 feet of that pump station, so I'm a little bit, I guess, curious as far as what is the size of that station? Is it like a shed? Is it like a, two-story building?
It's not very large at all. It's I think it's under 200 square feet, so essentially the size of a shed.
Number
Not
20?
very- Yeah.
And because I've never been near a sewer pump station before, if I'm sitting out in my backyard, are we going to be able to hear this?
There is some noise pollution, but it's not going to be 24/7 all day long. You'll hardly notice that it's there.
So normally, you won't be able to hear the pumps themselves. The only thing that you may hear, which wastewater superintendent mentioned, generators will be exercised once a week for a brief period of time. That's the only routine noise, but that is not extremely noisy. Those are going to have noise reduction measures provided on them. So it's not intended to be a noisy situation.
Once a week.
That is a once-a-week exercising. And the
turn it
pumps
on,
are
yeah,
inside, yeah,
I
the
guess.
pumps are actually, they're in the ground, in the water. That's not something you would hear, so.
And I guess the other question would be, because that's, I mean, the lots are only 75 feet wide, right? So my lot's 75, the guy next to me is 75, and then there's the pump lot. If he's 75, I don't know, but then there's the pump station. I don't know, like, what's the setback from his property line on that? Because there's not that much space between, have you been over there?
Yeah, we'd have to pull up.
That road, Carter Road, if you look at that little dirt paper road, whatever it is, there are some houses that have access to that, but it's a really, to me, it looks like a sliver of land. So you're gonna put a 200 square foot, I know it's called a shed, right next to a house directly to the left of it, which will be less than probably 25 feet from his living room. And then right on the other side of that paper road, you have 3 other homes. So I guess I would be concerned primarily, I mean, obviously, I'm not just thinking about myself, I'm thinking about all my neighbors too. Like, it's not gonna be like one of those click-clack type of things, like it's 7 o'clock in the morning when it kicks on and,
No.
You're not gonna hear it.
No, and actually the generator timing, it's programmed, that can be chosen, it's not gonna be, what's that?
We set them all at noontime.
Noontime, yeah, so, noontime
Okay,
exercising.
on a Wednesday, all right.
And I would say that, so the buildings themselves are not, they're actually meant to blend in with the surrounding area. I mean, they're gonna have to be shingled and, you know, they'll look like a little house, basically.
And they'll have
Is this
vegetation.
already existing on Mashpee Neck Road in Phase 1?
Yes, there is
Yes.
So,
Yeah, there's 2 examples in town right now you could go take a look at.
Yeah.
They're
There's one
nice
under
looking little
construction at
buildings.
Brewster Road right now.
Yeah.
But what's the size of this building? This one looks larger than the one at Brewster Road.
They're all the same size, it's just that this one's shown at a little bit different scale.
Actually,
What was
Brewster
it?
Road, this is before you came on. So Brewster Road is actually a little bit smaller, and the reason why we did that is because of the traffic in that area. If we'd gone bigger, nobody would have been able to see. So we went smaller and lower. This is the exact same size as you see on Falmouth Road and on Mashpee Neck Road. Rodney put in a requirement when we started this project that he wanted every pump station to be the same. He didn't want to have just weird designs everywhere. So if you go to the one on Falmouth Road or Mashpee Neck Road, you'll be able to see exactly what you're getting.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that one before, on the one on Mashpee Neck Road. So you'll be putting some type of vegetation like arborvitaes or something around the outside of that?
There will be, yeah, planting, there will be privacy trees, and, you know, that's, you know, all part of Mashpee, you know, bylaws and part of this design. It's not gonna just be clear and then you're gonna see the building, so there'll be vegetation and plantings around there, yep.
Okay, good. And then what's the time frame for starting the construction on this?
It's approximately a 2.5-year project. That's, construction's probably gonna start late summer.
Late this summer and then 2.5 years
Yeah.
from there?
It would take about 2.5 years to complete, roughly.
For the whole project? You're talking about
Correct.
to come
Yeah,
all the way down?
I couldn't tell you when each pump station would get built. That's
Yeah.
the contractor sequencing. So that's the rough time frame for the whole project.
During regular working out, obviously during regular working hours, it's not gonna, you know, ruin the peace of everybody who's living right there all day long.
It's regular, daytime work hours, correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I would ask for a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for a close and issue for 111 Timberlane Drive, 318 Main Street, 2 Great Neck Road North, 42 Median House Road, 0 Dry Hollow Lane, for Town of Mashpee Sewer Commission, with the condition that planting plans be presented and worked out with staff. And us as a commission, do we want to see planting plans?
Well, we certainly want to have them for the record.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, we can provide them when they're submitted.
Yeah.
Okay. but that'd be the condition.
Yep.
on it, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, but Paul, you had the question about the vernal pool and changing what was on the plans to that. Does that need?
Right, they were
does
going to
that
beat
need-
that up to a 50-year.
Yep.
Does
storm
that need to
frequency.
be
But that is a
conditioned?
condition?
Yeah, I'd like to
So
protect
that
that as
the,
much as we can.
what was it, the
That was
swale?
South Sandwich Road?
Yeah. it,
Or the
um,
bioretention? It was the
The
bioretention?
bioretention area.
On
Right.
which project?
South Sandwich Pump Station.
South,
It
South
is.
Sandwich Pump Station?
Yep, yeah.
yeah, South Sandwich, right.
South Sandwich Pump Station,
Okay.
okay. To meet the 50-year flood, 50-year storm, I mean?
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, those two conditions.
All right, I've got that. And are you still okay seconding that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So motion is made and seconded with the conditions of the planting plans being provided to the commission and beefing up the bioretention area to the 50-year storm frequency. Up for deliberations amongst commissioners before I call for a vote. Any further thoughts? We're good? Okay, roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
So will you be coming every 2 weeks for 2.5 years?
No, thank
I
you.
just want to know ahead of time with a lot of read.
We don't expect to.
Okay. Move along here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back
Faster and cheaper, so
to,
more can get done.
I'm going to go back to the pre and post hearing agenda items under discussion for the GHD soil
I
bore
feel like I'm
test.
not doing my job.
Zero Evergreen
I
Circle.
understand about 20%.
Just wanted,
Can you
while
assist
you're
with that?
here, so you don't have to wait around.
Sorry.
Can you assist with the Zero Evergreen Circle discussion?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
So which one did you go to? I apologize.
Zero Evergreen
going to
Circle.
take a look at this soil bore test for Zero Evergreen Circle. This is not a construction, this is just a soil boring test for that particular lot.
This is an unusual week.
This is,
on the
this is a pre-post discussion, and since they're still here,
agenda. Yeah,
they're
yeah,
discussing
yeah.
it, so
No,
that's
no,
all.
I understand.
Take
That's
advantage
right.
of
Oh, we're over here.
So, do you have the memo that I sent, or would you like me to share it?
It was shared with the commissioners.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say
I'm-
that.
So
Let me
if you
double
give me a
check, see if I have
moment,
it.
What fees are you in?
I'm not in. Pompanesett is not in any phase right now.
Don't know if I downloaded that to my computer.
Not right here, but the commission has been sent it for review. I will say that.
Okay. One of the questions that I had, Mark, in terms of discussion,
yes.
this Zero Evergreen Circle has a conservation restriction
Yes.
on the property. So are you familiar with the changes, the current changes for Article 97 at all? Because I know there's been a lot of talk
Generally-
up in Boston.
Generally aware of that, yes.
Could you fill the commissioners in a little bit on what Article 97 used to be for many, many years and what it's kind of moving towards now and the,
I'm probably not the best person to do that, but my understanding is that, it was a full you could not utilize any property that was
Well, there was some
Article 97 restricted.
stringent steps to go through.
Sorry, yes, correct. It was very difficult. Now, my understanding is that there is an allowance for utility work of some sort. I don't know all the details, but that's a brand-new allowance, I guess, on properties like that. So, I'm sorry, that's the extent of my knowledge on that.
You know, for the commissioners, I can provide the Article 97 language as it existed for many, many years, but there's been so much discussion up in the State House and with the governor of changing those requirements. So before we inch down the road of any soil bore testing on conservation restricted lands, I think we need to bring ourselves up to speed on exactly where we are today. Because if they get the successful board that they want, obviously, they're going to be coming back for a proposal of one kind or another. And then we're going to have
Potentially,
to
yes.
grapple
Yes.
with 97. That's my thought on it.
And I can touch upon the change very briefly. So there was a change to Article 97, I do believe it's already active. What it was that with this land, they were running into issues with utilities, mainly for wind. So what the change was is that Article 97, the town could only request change of use on the land. That's how it was in the past. The way it works, well, the way it's looking at it's going to be working now is that contractors, representatives, private individuals, things of that nature can request change of use for utility purposes. So this is a utility purpose, so that's why this would be in line with what the change is. So that is how it goes. So it can be requested for a change of use while maintaining the conservation restriction on the land. So that is possible now, just so you are all, well, it will be possible, if not now, very soon, just so you are all aware. So that would allow GHD to request a change of use on the land, and then we would go through with the holder of the conservation restriction to facilitate the rest from there, so.
And Mark, what type of, would this just be another pump station, or is it some other type of infrastructure that you're looking at providing the town?
So the purpose of looking at the soils would be to see if the property could be used for a number of uses, including facilities like a treatment facility or what we call effluent recharge, which is treated wastewater, which we have to reintroduce into the ground. So that's the purpose is to see what the underlying soils are like, just so we can get a feel for, is the property potentially a good candidate for some kind of a wastewater use.
Okay.
And the intent would be for this initial work would be to be as, to not disturb the property, but really just to get access to, if you can see, looks like there's a trail to the lower portion, Dan. Yeah, see, we'd like to try and get into the trail to the left, a little bit to the left. Yeah, right there.
Number 95 Echo Road to get into it?
We would need to ask permission to get into the property from one of the private landowners on the side. But yes, potentially 95. But we would get, once we get access to the property, we would just use existing open, trails to get access as far as we can along that trail on the bottom there to put in a soil boring.
And Mark, quite a while back, we talked about these borings and, the physical nature of them, but we've got some new commissioners that might not be aware of that, if you could kind of take them through
Sure.
the process.
Yep. So soil boring, first of all, is you're literally taking samples of the soil deep in the ground, so you could see the different layers of soil. The equipment that's used is they call it a boring rig, and they drill into the ground in increments, and then they approximately, I think it's 5 feet, and then they pull that up and they keep that, and then they'll go another 5 feet, and they record, the boring operators will record what they see in the soils that come up, and it allows us to determine, is that a good underlying material for facilities to sit there, for effluent recharge to be able to make its way down into the ground. So.
And what would be the time frame for?
We'd like to do it within a month if we can.
Within a month. And I'm not sure what type of paperwork we'd be using to file that with.
That would be, Drew, did you hear that?
Maybe Drew could shed some light on that.
A letter, from the Conservation Department, if that's okay with the commission, just providing administrative approval for the activity. The letter would include a synopsis of the proposed activity, and then state that it would be administratively approved, subject to any conditions the commission feels are warranted.
Okay. So it would come to us first then in a letter proposal, and we would just do an administrative proposal for our conservation staff.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
Can you clarify just what you had said before about 97 being effective or applied already, or is about to be implemented?
I want to say it's already in effect. I'm just not 100% sure. And again, I say that because this was this was a decision made by the state, the governor's office, I believe, to allow for straight line passage of utilities underground because they were running into issues with the windmills coming in where they had to kind of zigzag.
Right.
So that's what this was for. So I would imagine it is, but I can confirm that tomorrow. That's not a problem.
Yeah, would you just send us out a little quick something?
Absolutely. I'll send that out as well as the declaration that was made by the governor.
That
So,
would be
yeah.
great. That would-
Let's do our homework. Sure.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
I wanted to just clarify if you need something from me or with this?
I believe, yes, and maybe Drew, you could help out with this. From what I'm gathering is that we would get a proposal from you for the number of bores that you want to take, maybe even a sketched out map showing the locations. And then,
So it's going to be one. What I've provided to conservation is up here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it just I pointed out.
Sorry.
Yep. The location right there. Dan has it there. It's just a single boring,
just a single one.
just one.
That's all you need?
That's it. Yeah. So
So-
this just outlines that.
My question, it looks like it's in a wooded area?
There's a path. If you, Dan, I don't know if you can pull up Google Maps. You see how there's a path down.
Go all the way down. Yeah, so this path here,
Yeah.
let me give a very brief history of this property. This property is conservation land. It did have over here you can see a clearing. It is growing back in now. There was a very large violation there that was uncovered
Remember
years
that.
ago, and compliance was brought in order, yada, yada, yada. And the whole point in that was also, part of that compliance was a conservation restriction. So that's how the CONSCOM kind of got acquisition of this property, control, I mean, of it. So this is, yeah, if they were going to go in and make one soil bore compared to what was already caused there, I don't think it would be.
Right, but instead of trying to get down a narrow path, why don't you just do it in that open area next to 95 where it looks like there's a wider road going in?
We would not knock any trees down. We would just, our goal is just to get as close as we can to the lower right-hand portion there as we can without knocking any trees down.
But why do you need to go in that lower right-hand side?
Because if we were to put something there, that would be the first place. But we certainly can go towards the clearing area if that's a restriction. We will go there. So
Yeah, because typically a truck is a wide truck to get that. I don't know how wide that path is.
Oh, it's wide.
It's wide?
Oh, yeah, they were using,
Vehicle access.
Okay,
they were driving big trucks down it.
okay.
They were, yeah.
All right, I can't tell from this, yeah, so, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so yes, just a letter mark would do, and we'll get that on our next agenda for approval.
okay, all right. So I'll just send it through.
Yes, please just send it to the conservation, to Drew and I, and then we'll get it to the commission and get it through from there.
Okay,
All
all right. Thank you very much.
Thank
But
you.
this doesn't obligate us to do anything, right?
No.
This is just,
No, once, if they end up going through with this, then it would obviously be, there's no wetlands on site, but it would be a further discussion from there. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to call the 42 Sandy Way, Charles E. and Michelle C. Tourget. Proposed septic system upgrade. Representative is GeoCape Environmental Consultants. This hearing is continued from December 12th of 2024, January 9th, January 23rd, and February 6th of 2025. Good evening, gentlemen. If we can have your names for the record, we'll begin.
Good evening.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm Charles Eric Tourget, 42 Sandy Way.
You're the owner, okay?
Glenn Harrington, representing the Title V design plan and the owners
for 42 Sandy Way.
Okay, so it seems as though we have the tank up in the front of the house.
Yes, this
Tell us a
came
little
back
bit
in
about it.
December, and there was a previous design plan for the septic repair, and the previous design had a leach field at the left side of the dwelling, but it was too close to the coastal bank, so the commission asked to have us look into relocating the system out to the front. And it took a little bit to get a plumber out there to look at the plumbing, because it has to be turned internally to come out the front of the building, and which has been done as far as it was investigated, and they found that they could move it out front. And system is still going to be a fast tank, and the two 500-gallon chambers had to be split up to make room and to even out the setbacks for the front of the property. One will be in the driveway, and the other will be essentially in the front yard, where the water line will be rerouted and protected to maintain the 10-foot setback from that new leaching chamber. So we were able to squeeze it in. The Board of Health has approved this plan. So we're looking forward to getting the system in, as the system is still failed.
Yeah.
It didn't heal itself, huh?
No.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
Good.
We're good? I know we had a lot of discussion about trying to
Yeah,
get this
this is
thing
much
around.
better, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Steve?
This plan is much better than
Much
our
better.
previous plan, yeah, so this answers all our questions.
Guidance here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else? Glenn, can you tell us about the failed tank? Is that going to be removed from the ground, or what's?
It says on the plan that it's
Filled
going to
in.
be removed. I would recommend that it's pumped and filled in place.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't disturb anything.
Right.
We do have to do a revised plan, just because the ultraviolet light was left on the plan, but because when we moved the leaching more than 75 feet from the BVW, it took away that requirement on the Board of Health side. So I can have Dave take that note or change that to pump and fill rather than remove that tank.
Okay. Okay. I have no further questions. We all set? Anything from the agents?
No, just recommend a negative determination.
I agree. This is absolutely what the commission was aiming at, and I agree. Negative determination.
Okay, questions from the public? Not hearing any, so I'd take a motion.
Okay, make a motion for a negative determination for 42 Sandy Way.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Marjorie. Motion made and seconded. Negative determination. Anything further from commissioners before I call for a vote? We're good? Okay. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes, sir.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's
Thank
been a
you.
long haul,
Thank
but
you,
I'm
everybody.
glad.
Nice when it works out that you do what
Yeah.
you were asked to do. Look at that.
Right, that's it.
I'm
Thank you.
very grateful for him, because I don't know what he's talking about.
Skilled professionals.
Thank you.
Thanks. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything here.
For sure.
Okay, our next hearing will be 51 Horseshoe Bend Way, Victoria, Nguyen. Proposed septic system upgrade. Representative is Engineering Works Incorporated. This is an RDA.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Peter McEntee with Engineering Works, and we've been retained by Quinn's Excavation to prepare a septic upgrade plan for Victoria. And the property lies at the on the northeast side of Ashumet Pond, directly on the pond, within the 150-foot buffers to the inland bank and to the bordering vegetation along the side of the pond. The work will be contained to the front yard as far as possible, away from the wetland resource area. The front yard is basically open with 2 driveways. We intend to replace the existing septic tank with an H20 2-compartment tank with an S86 sledgehammer unit in it, a leaching system in front of the house, and another leaching system in the driveway on the east side of the lot to give us a capacity of 4 bedrooms. The system is in failure at the present time, so will be a great improvement to what's there.
Questions from commissioners?
No.
We're good, Steve?
Yep.
This side of the room over here, anybody?
No.
Nothing?
Fixes the system.
Cut and dry?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, then. Something from the agents?
No comments.
No comments?
Nope, this is a very, as you said, very cut and dry project. So,
Going out to the public for any questions on this proposal? Not hearing any? I'll take a motion.
Okay, make a negative determination for 51 Horseshoe Bend Way with the condition that all lawns to be replaced be compliant with the lawn standard under Regulation 31.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sandy. Motion made and seconded with one condition to comply with the lawn standards from Reg 31. Deliberations? Anything? We're good? Roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next hearing is 27 Sturgis Lane, Darrell S. Sharp, proposed installation and maintenance of a seasonally developed aluminum dock, replacement of an existing timber stairs, and repair of an existing pump house and deck. Representative is Cape and Islands Engineering. This hearing is DEP file number 433319, and it is continued from February 20th, April 3rd, and April 24th. Good evening, sir. If I can have your name, you can start.
Good evening, Chuck Rowland. I'm a professional engineer with Cape and Islands Engineering, representing Darrell Sharp of 27 Sturgis Way. I hope you guys have all had a chance to take a look at the revised plan. We feel that we've met all of the comments that this commission has brought up to us. We've shortened the pier by 10 feet, so we're a little bit less water, and we feel that we meet the performance standards. We've shown 1,719 square feet of mitigation planting and invasive removal, which was calculated for the added hardscape of the driveway. We've added a berm with native planting to prevent gravel from running down the slope and off into the lake. It's also a secondary containment system, so that way the entire driveway actually is will hold any additional water during significant storm events. We've proposed timber wall to support the proposed gravel driveway. We've added drainage in the parking area. And we've added timber ties to support the gravel going up the driveway. So I believe that we had a fairly lengthy discussion last time I was here. I think that was on April 3rd. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you guys may have, as I believe we have kind of addressed all.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll go to commissioners first for questions on this revised plan.
Okay. Chuck, on the silt fence, can we add in the socks on that because of the steep grade? Because it just says proposed silt fence. Finding that the silt fence is not holding up on steep
So,
grades.
I'll bring the plan over here, but I don't know which note you're looking at.
It just shows right here, proposed silt fence.
So I have that for the mitigation planting down below. It's a little bit lighter because there's not really going to be any heavy construction. And then, but obviously, if you guys really feel strong about having silt fence and wattles or hay bales, we can add that. It's a narrow area.
Yeah, well, you can do the round socks that, you see them on 151 right now.
We're happy to do that.
Yeah, I think, because it's so steep. I'm seeing that the silt fences on my site visits aren't holding up by themselves, so. And then on the pump house, when it says rebuilt, there's no foundation work, you just framing work?
Just framing work.
Framing work, okay.
Keep it all the same. Rebuild
Okay.
the pump, rebuild that structure, repairs needed.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Someone else? Questions or comments? Nothing? Good. Chuck, I'm going to go back to the pump house just for a minute. It's going to be the identical footprint, no larger. You're just
Correct.
kind of rebuilding the structure. And I know it's being called the pump house.
Because it is.
Okay, so is there a working pump in this building?
There's a pump in it. I can't tell you it's working.
Okay.
Hasn't
And
been tested in quite some time.
originally, what was the intent for the pump?
I can't.
Originally, what was the intent for that pump?
To my knowledge, it was for water.
It was being drawn from the pond or from groundwater?
My understanding that it has a shallow well, but it was for water.
Yeah. All right. I was just curious. So do you envision this pump house looking identical to what it is, other than just it's been restored?
Same exact structure. I actually even kept it. I showed it in our cross-section as best I could. We don't plan on going up. We don't plan on doing it anything other than scroll up a little bit further. There you go.
Just fixing the door and the roof and thing, because it's all a concrete block right now, right?
Yeah, and it's not being changed. The use isn't being changed. It's going to store a pump. I'd store some other things in there, but just a small timber structure. It's not being changed.
And is that deck going to be just rebuilt too? That's just cleaned up, or any rotted timbers replaced?
So, well and deck to be rebuilt and maintained. So it'll be repaired as needed. We feel that it's in decent enough shape right now, but if timber boards are rotted out, then we'll be replacing them as needed.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? No? We're good. Anything from Dan or Drew?
Yeah, so they did submit a ZBA application. That's been confirmed. Letter from Natural Heritage confirms the no-take status for the dock. Just a couple of recommendations for conditions if the commission decides to close an issue on this. When it comes to the mitigation area, because of the steep embankment, where staff is recommending erosion control matting during the time, for invasive species removal. And between that and plantings, because they're not coincidental, they don't happen back to back right away. So there will be erosion control matting recommended during that interim period from invasive species removal to new plantings. And if there's anything else I had here, the dock, as proposed, meets standards. They did reduce the linear footage based on concerns from the last meeting. And the other condition I recommend is submission of a 3-year monitoring and maintenance contract with a qualified professional for the restoration plantings on the bank. I think that covers it.
Okay, thank you. Dan, anything from you?
No, I concur with Drew. The conditions are needed, I think. As well as for this project, I think it really boomed and got better with the whole restoration of the bank. So I think that's a huge bonus, where this was originally really just access stairs and a dock. So I think that's in part of the driveway. So I think that's a big bonus and makes this project very strong.
Okay. I'll go out to the public. Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, I have an email that was sent in that I should read into the record. Dear Mr. McManus and members of the Mashpee Conservation Commission, as a direct abutter to the project at 27 Sturgis Lane, I have the following comments I would like to submit for the conservation hearing on May 8th, 2025. Let me just give the name. The person's name is Linda Smith, and she resides at 33 Sturgis Avenue. Her first comment was, I would first like to thank the applicant for reducing the overall length of the pier, as well as adding some stormwater control features to the driveway. Number two, I have concerns for the invasive treatment that is proposed, mainly the lack of any planting plan, erosion controls for the slope, only silt fence at bottom, mapping/flagging, the location of invasives being removed, application/treatment methods, monitoring plan. Once this bank is exposed, following removal, it is very steep and as such will quickly erode into the pond. Planting should be done immediately after removal, not after the finish of construction. I am hopeful that the commission will not allow the removal of stumps, grubbing, etc., that would further disturb the site. All work on the bank should be done by hand if possible. Number three, the pump house renovation represents an opportunity to add mitigation to the plan. A pump is fairly small and does not need a large structure. The proposed pump house could be reduced in size, which would allow a smaller structure, which is better for the bank. The pump house itself is in good condition. I would recommend to the commission that if the structure is not made smaller, that it cannot be made larger in height, width, or depth. A change of use from pump house to shed should not be allowed. It should be stated that the storage of fuel, oils, paints, etc. should not be allowed. Limiting the use will ensure this doesn't turn into a shed or a hangout spot. If rebuilt, it should be no taller than the current building, again, to limit the use to only a pump house. Erosion controls need to be shown on the plan for any type of construction of the pump house. And her last comment is, there are 2 trees that appear to need removal to install the driveway. The 2 trees should be marked, and the mitigation required by regulations for the trees should be stated. Thank you for your time, and it's signed Linda Smith. So I just wanted to read that into the record for commissioners' deliberations. Okay. No one else here in the public was interested in commenting? Is there anyone online that, no? We're
Not seeing
good?
anyone, nope.
All right, so all of the testimony is in. With that, I would accept a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for closing issue for 27 Sturgis Lane with the following conditions, is to add in the filter socks for additional erosion control where the silt fence is shown on the plan, and then a submission of a signed 3-year mitigation monitoring and maintenance contract between the owner and a qualified professional.
Erosion mats. Erosion
Yeah,
mats?
erosion mats for the bank.
Yeah.
I said filter, erosion
Okay.
filter socks, right? Yeah.
And erosion control
But,
matting.
And mats too.
Yeah, the mats are for the bank itself, not just
Okay.
the retainment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And mats. yeah.
Concerns of this abutter, yeah. And you got the 3-year.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I
Thank you,
want to
sir.
ask Steve a question. Is it in order
Hold
before or
on.
after the second?
She has already seconded the motion, so the motion is made and seconded, and now open to deliberations
To
by the
deliberate.
commission. So
Okay, great.
you're first.
Get Rich. Rich
I
with the
confess
second.
that I don't know as much as you do about the
Rich seconded.
foundation for the
Oh, I thought
for the
so.
shed, or you had been concerned about the condition the foundation, were you? And then it sounds like the neighbor has a similar concern?
No, it's a concrete block building with a wood roof and a wood door on it, just saying.
And that's
Okay,
it, you're cool with
concrete
it?
blocks will probably be repointed or cleaned up, because it looks in decent shape, and just depends whether the roof will need to be replaced and the door need to be replaced. So just
Okay.
mostly carpentry work, but no new digging, no new foundation or anything like that.
I just wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly.
Audrey, that's what it looked like in the winter.
I'm sorry, say it again?
That's pictures from the winter, this past.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
it, with
yeah.
this, it's all cement.
Yep.
Yep.
But the neighbors seem to have had a concern that was similar to Steve's. I wanted to
Yeah,
make.
but you couldn't reduce the size of the building because it would be demolition and rebuild.
That's right.
So, and more disturbance, so it's
Gotcha.
fine the way it is, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anything else from
No.
commissioners on the motion that we have before us? No, we're good? All right, and I'll take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Thank you
Well
very
said.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next hearing is 23 Cross Tree Way, Susan M. Brady, trustee, Susan M. Brady, 1999 trust. Proposed construction and maintenance of additions to a single-family dwelling, relocate steps, utilities, and associated grading, landscaping and mitigation plantings. A representative is Cape and Islands Engineering. This is a notice of intent, TEP file number 433339. The floor is yours, sir. If you can have your name, we can get started.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant, Susan Brady, who is also the property owner for this project. The project is to seek permission to do a couple of additions to the house. The resources on or within 150 feet of this property are Papanesset Creek, which is land under the ocean. There is a salt marsh associated to the shores of Papanesset Creek. There is a coastal bank also associated with the same water body, and then a man-made coastal bank in the form of a bulkhead. The entire property is also in land subject to coastal stone flowage. The existing dwelling is built on a concrete foundation. The first floor is roughly at elevation 10. The proposed work is to do 2 small additions to that first floor. On the plans that we submitted and that Dan is sharing with everyone here in the audience, there are 2 or 3 darker tan color areas. Those are additions within the footprint of the existing building. The one addition that is kind of below the mouse cursor right now, that is an addition to square off that kitchen dining area. Towards the front of the house, there are 2 other areas. For those who went to the site, looking at the house from the street or from the driveway, there is a curvature to the elevation of the house, and that is the stairwell going up to the 2nd floor. What the homeowner wants to do is square off that stairwell and make that mid-landing from the stairs a standard square, excuse me, a standard square addition. The other little solid addition in tan color is the front door is moving a couple of feet forward onto the porch, but again, within the existing footprint of the porch. These smaller additions, the one to the north right is roughly 43 square feet. The one to the south is roughly 40 square feet, but all contained within the existing footprint of the structure. On the 2nd floor, there's going to be additional expansion above the existing development on the 1st floor. Because of that little addition that is happening to the kitchen area, the screen porch that exists is going to be reduced by the same 43 or so square footage. However, the doors that lead out of the existing screen porch onto the patio, the side yard, will be moved that 4 feet, and that is that little detail that we show the exterior access steps to be moved 4 feet. The relocation of these steps does not get any closer to any of the resources. It is still 6 feet away from the coastal bank. And in terms of improvements or reductions to development proposed, that movement of those stairs actually lands on an existing boardwalk. So when we calculate the mitigation calculations based on the Mashpee regulations, because there's an overlap of existing developed boardwalk with the proposed relocation of the stairs, there's a reduction of roughly 2 square feet in overall developed area in that buffer zone. So the project in itself doesn't trigger mitigation by increasing development area. We are proposing to do dry wells to capture runoff from the right side of the house. We're proposing a couple of shallow units with crushed stone around them to direct runoff from downspouts on that side of the house. Earlier, I had a review with Drew for this project, and in the past 10 years, the property has received a couple of permits by this commission, and both permits had been closed. Those permits have a ongoing mitigation area requirement, and on the site plan, we show an area on the back that shows native plants. And Drew was informing me that it looks like the native plant areas have to coincide with what was approved in the past, which we agree, and we informed the client about it. The client did inform us back that some of the planting that was included in that mitigation planting were cedar trees, and apparently the land, because it's at elevation, roughly elevation 3 to 4, have been dying or have not been surviving the conditions on site. But the client has been advised that that permit is still ongoing, or those conditions are still ongoing, and the mitigation area has to be per those plans. So if plants die, they have to replace them in kind. So we understand, and the client understand, that there is that ongoing condition from prior permits. But this is essentially the project that we have before you. There is no footprint increase in overall from the existing conditions of the site or the house. And if there's any questions, I'll try to answer.
Okay, thank you. I'll go first to commissioners for questions or comments.
I just have one question, Raul, on the, I heard what you said about no new square footage on the home, right? And on the first floor is the area right now that seems to swing around here, where it says plants. Is that plants in the ground or is that a porch? I can't tell.
So, for those who did not see what Marjorie was pointing at, around the front of the house, there are some areas that are called out as plants. Those are planting beds, foundation planting beds. They're ornamental plants. So that's just ornamentals. I'm not sure what they are because when I visited the site, it was still, we're coming out of the winter, so I don't know what they are, but there's just ornamentals. I think on the photographs that Dan is sharing, you can more or less see that the site is fairly planted with a lot of ornamentals around the house, and there's shrubberies and stuff like that. So,
Like
so that's what.
hedges. Hedges?
Yeah, they have a couple
There's
evergreens
some
and
hedges
hedges
on the
there.
site.
I thought that it might have been an
Evergreens.
addition of a porch that would have thrown this off a bit, but no,
No.
no. Okay, I'm good.
Other questions?
So, Raul, so for these second floor additions, and then I see where you're having the diamond piers. So this, is the house supported on a foundation or pilings right now?
So the main shell of the house, the two-story house, is on a concrete foundation. If you see the plan, there is a back deck, and then the second floor, and I see on the top right corner image that Dan is sharing with everybody, there's another balcony up the second floor. It's much smaller. So those are supported at the ground level with sonotubes, and I believe there is also, what do we call them out? diamond piers. For those who don't know what a diamond pier is, it's a type of footing. It's a precast concrete little block, and it has dowels that get driven at an angle, typically 4 dowels driven into the ground. Instead of digging 4 feet down to set a sonotube, you actually pound these dowels in, and it locks the support for structures such as decks and balconies, which is the case that we're doing here in the screen porch.
So all the second floor additions on the right side of the house will be sitting over existing framing and foundation?
Right.
So no digging there, okay. So the only thing that's touching the ground right now will be these diamond piers?
Right, but like I mentioned earlier, that addition that is to the kitchen, that will have a new foundation. So that 44 square feet will have a new foundation. The covered decks and the balcony, the new balcony, that will be on diamond piers.
Okay. So is that to get in to do a new foundation underneath that kitchen addition? Is that gonna be hand dug?
That's what I understand. No heavy equipment back there. And the existing foundation is not getting removed. So this is just like a 2-foot foundation next to the existing foundation.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. As long as there's no heavy equipment going in there, great. Thank you.
Other questions? So, Raul, can we revisit the description about the vegetation that is dead? What is the plan to correct that?
So Ray, the phone call I had with Drew was we're still trying to figure out what square footage we're dealing with. But the prior permits do spell that out clearly. So we just have to compare. We were not involved in those prior permits, so I cannot strictly just pull up a plan from my own office and find out what they are. We'll just have to compare that. But based that it is tied to ongoing conditions from those prior permits, the applicant has been advised that they have to comply with those permits. It's ongoing conditions. And we'll have to figure out the species that are probably best suited. The applicant says that the cedar trees were not surviving. So anything that goes back should not be cedar trees because they're just going to be spending money to no avail. Salt-tolerant grasses or shrubbery may be the solution here, but we'll have to clarify that with staff.
Okay, so I guess my question would then be more for the agents. How do we resolve the old order before we parade into a new one? Or do we have to?
What I would suggest is that we work with Cape and Island and the corner to get that as a compliance. It's not a significant discrepancy. I think it's easily remedied, and it would just be done just to gain compliance with the older order, which did receive a certificate of compliance, by the way. So it has been technically closed out, but that doesn't mean we lose jurisdiction or authority in this matter. And I can just reiterate what Raul had said earlier about the Eastern Red Cedars. There's a couple of Eastern Red Cedars on site that were part of the mitigation, and it looks like they're really struggling. So I think this might have been a case of nursery stock, maybe use of cultivars, or something along those lines that Red Cedar is just not taking on the site. We can certainly come up with some alternative tree species here and there, and other species too that will be well adapted to this area and bring things into compliance relatively simply.
Okay.
Hey, Drew, could we have a condition on this order of conditions for the planting to take care of that and work with you guys on it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest.
Okay.
We can
Yeah.
do that.
Just one other quick comment, not related to that particular situation, but I did put down in my comments for this, there was no proof of application for ZBA. We have since received documentation that ZBA application has been submitted.
Okay.
I have a question. Should we condition this with a monitoring for the new
I would
Plantings?
think we should, yeah.
Yeah.
If they're not taking this,
I would-
something going on there. So, yeah, we'd want to make sure that
Yeah,
whatever
we
goes
would,
in.
we would ensure, and I can come up with the effective wording to ensure that ongoing monitoring of, this additional mitigation to bring things into compliance will be part of the order.
Okay.
Good one, Sandy. Thanks, good one.
Yeah, if they died before, they'll probably die again, so we want to be able to get in there.
Yeah, they
No other
would.
questions from commissioners then? I'll go out to the public if there are any questions or comments. Hearing none, I would accept a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for closing issue for 23 Cross Tree Way with the condition to replace the missing plantings from the previous order condition and work with staff on a new planting plan. And in the submission of a 3-year signed mitigation monitoring and maintenance contract between the owner and a qualified professional.
Okay. That's it.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sandy. Motion made and seconded. Up for discussion amongst commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. I probably should know the answer to this, but the waiver request submitted for relief from Regulation 25, Section C7C, is that the most recent rewrite, or is that the old?
No, that's the original.
That's the
Back
original.
to 2007 or 5, but that's the old, well,
Okay, good.
it's the current Reg 25. It's nothing to do with the new draft that,
I just wanted to make sure that
we're
we
kind of
were,
between regs right now.
there's nothing worse than having a new incoming regulation or something from the governor when we've already approved it. That's not a good thing to do.
You
All
know,
right.
and this project is very minimal. I think the only new footprint is that staircase that's been moved, right? That's about it.
Yeah.
So there's not much there. One of the things, just for commissioners to think about, when I read the construction methodology in the full notice, it says work will likely be done by different contractors, often at different times. Efforts will be coordinated to minimize construction time and disturbance within and around the subject resource areas. The site will be monitored to ensure the site remains in compliance with the orders of conditions and is kept in a clean state. So that caught my eye, because you know what happens when a lot of different contractors come and go, it does get a little chaotic. And my thought was, who's doing the monitoring and who's doing the monitoring? So I know there are commissioner deliberations, so I'm curious, first of all, how the commissioners feel about that. And then I'll go out, the applicant's got his hand up. I typically don't let them into these deliberations, but if,
So you're concerned with multiple contractors?
yeah, I'm just concerned with a bunch of trucks coming and going.
Is there a GC that's going to oversee it?
So you have a general contractor that will oversee the whole thing?
So if I can, yes. So projects like such as this or any residential project, there's a GC.
Right.
And then there's subcontractors. The foundation guy is a subcontractor. The framing guy, it's a different contractor. The siding is a different contractor. The painters are a different contractor. There's a GC that he is in charge of the permit that is issued by the commission. And the limits of work have to be maintained. Any debris have to be removed from site and so forth. So although there's different trades working on this project, there is one particular entity that is in charge of the overall
I've
project.
seen it. Okay. Well, we're such a small lot, and as sensitive as it is, that caught my eye, so I was just curious. Okay. Anything else? I'll take a roll call vote then. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes?
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Okay. Our next hearing is 126 Summersea Road, Thomas F. and Patricia A. Brennan. This is a proposed vista pruning with maintenance in perpetuity. Representative is BSS Design, Inc. And this is a notice of intent to EP file number 433342. Good evening, gentlemen. If I can have your names, we can get started.
Good evening. My name is Tom Bunker, land surveyor with BSS Design. And this is
And I'm Dustin Wolf with Artistic Grounds Landscape Company.
Justin, thank you.
Dustin, and I will be
Floor is yours.
overseeing, if we get the permit, I'll be overseeing the pruning and for this vista.
Okay.
So we prepared we did the survey, there's a couple other permits, a house was rebuilt on the property, and so now we've located all of the trees. This is on a coastal bank, and that's why we have to file notice of intent rather than RDA for this vista pruning. It's on a coastal bank. It's within 75 feet of a salt marsh and also land under the ocean. The vista pruning, the frontage along the salt marsh is 78 feet. 25% of that is 19 and a half feet wide, and that's kind of centered on where the pier starts heading out into the water. And then 80% of that width represents the landward edge of the trapezoid, side of the trapezoid, and that's 15 and a half feet. Centered from going on this room that's sort of in the center of the house. You can see the green shading showing that trapezoid. There's basically, it's pruned already. This will be to, document the width of the width and the shape of the vista prune. There is, if you have pictures of it from the upper level, you have sort of a better view than what's on there. That's from the ground level, but that's where it will be going out in that direction. And so this is to get it on paper, and I understand that there's a time limitation of not pruning, well, right now until November, I think, sometime, and
November
that's
1st, right?
protocols are written out here on that. So I guess I don't know if you have any questions for Dustin, how it will be done or whatever. I guess we'll answer as best we can.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions from commissioners?
Okay, I got a couple, guys. So what height are you guys pruning at?
He wants to prune the Vista corridor up on the second level there, so from where you're looking out there, he's probably going to want to take some of those limbs off so that we can get the view in that area.
Oh,
So the
okay,
main
so,
lane would be, it's probably already is more open, but the picture from the ground floor you see there is up one level from where this picture was taken.
Okay.
Looking out toward the water.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the main view from there and even above that, and it's already fairly open already.
right, yeah, I was out there yesterday. So I'm looking at my picture that I took of it. It seems that there's a white pine, some low growth, and then there's some, looks like oaks down lower on the bank that'll go, higher up. Are those the trees that you're basically cutting? Because other than that, the oaks and maybe there's a couple branches on those pitch pines, there's not a lot there.
Not a lot to prune, no.
So,
And the understory, for the most part, will just be kept at the size it's at right now, because from that vantage point, he's not looking to necessarily open that up. We're just going to do selective pruning on the trees to maintain the view.
okay, so this whole group of oaks that are there, you're gonna be cutting that pretty straight across the top, or?
No,
just-
we're going to just prune the trees.
Oh.
So, yeah, just
Vista pruning, you cannot top trees and you can't remove trees. It's just
Right, but
pruning of
there's not
30%.
There's not much there on those
Yeah,
oaks.
there's definitely not much
So-
there, but they would be permitted for 30% of the branches on that tree.
30%, okay.
It would be subject to your site visit with.
There would
you.
absolutely be site visits prior to this.
Dan
Yeah.
and Drew will say what can be done out here.
Yeah, just for that, for vista pruning, what we do, Drew and I go out for a site visit with whoever the cutting person is, and then we literally flag trees that can be removed, because there's a certain allowance for, I believe it's 4 inches or less that can be removed. I want to say it was 20% or something. And then for each tree, it's 30% of the branches. So we'll flag what's to be removed, and then we'll flag the trees that are to be trimmed or pruned. And then for the bushes and the ground cover, it is to stay, this isn't an issue because the bank's so steep.
Yeah.
But the bushes and ground cover usually stay at 4 feet, but with this here, I don't see any reason to have to prune, really, the bushes, so.
No, they're
So it's
really
basically
already
those-
there. We're just gonna maintain, yeah.
So it's basically those oaks.
It's going to be those oaks and the white pines, possibly that pitch pine, but the pitch pine itself already looks like it has some decent view past it, like you can see
Yeah.
right past it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's mainly going to be the oaks and the pitch pines, I mean, the white pines that I'm seeing.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the clarification.
But no topping. There's no
Okay.
topping. We ran into an issue with that over on Wheeler one day and rectified that pretty easy, but you can't top the tree, that's for certain.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? My question is more for the agent than the applicant. When I see the words "in perpetuity," I get a little hesitant.
Forever and forever.
That is why it's a notice of intent as well.
Yeah, in perpetuity is comes with this pruning because it's a repetitious activity and ultimately becomes less pruning as time goes on. A good example is when they do right-of-way pruning for utility lines. That becomes less and less. You kind of train the vegetation to grow in a certain pattern.
Right.
And that's very similar to what takes place with vista pruning. What we do when an order of conditions is issued is we include all the protocols under Reg 29, buffer zones and buffer strips, the protocols that apply to vista pruning, time of year restriction, everything that goes along with that, and required site visits prior to each vista pruning activity. So we know who's doing the work, we can reiterate the conditions. Sometimes, folks bring in different contractors from time to time, not always the same contractor forever. But the project like beach nourishment, vista pruning, and some other activities that are relatively the same scope year after year, applicants can request maintenance in perpetuity, and this is reflected in our regulations.
Right. So, Drew, let me ask further, just so that it's on the table for commissioners to think about. If this were to be granted, that permit continues with any successive owners, or no?
Yes, it does.
It does. So
Yes.
along comes a new owner that doesn't know up from down or anything, and they just figure, well, the other person has been chopping trees here left and right, so why can't I? How do we track down the road, so to speak, when property transfers over, that a permit that was given in perpetuity is understood by the new owner? Because I know when new owners come in, oftentimes they don't understand things.
Right, so when properties are transferred, there's a title search that's done, and
Yeah.
as the commission is aware, orders and conditions are recorded as a lien on property deed. So when properties are transferred or sold, the title search reveals those liens and those documents.
Yep.
It's no guarantee that a property owner, is going to be aware of that moving forward, and it's certainly a valid point. But on the flip side, they can take the same action even if they're aware. So
Yep.
try to do the best we can to communicate that whenever properties are transferred or sold. We do require notification of that in every order of conditions. That's boilerplate. So it's obviously it's no guarantee, but it's the best we can do.
Yeah, okay. All right, I just wanted to get that out on the table so people are thinking about it.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. No other questions? No other comments from staff? We're good?
Nope, this is straightforward request, routine. We get these, yeah.
Do we need a condition, or is it already in the order of conditions that they have to consult with
The
you
Vista
guys?
pruning protocols
Yeah,
are already
They're all
very strict, yeah.
boilerplate conditions, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, questions from the public? No comments or questions? We're good? Okay, I would accept a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for closing issue at 126 Summersea Road.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. on the table for deliberations before I call for a vote? Everybody good? Nothing else? No concerns? Okay, Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Sit on that.
Good luck.
Our next hearing is 19 and 21 Bowsprit Point, Jeffrey L. Shames and Lois Eggleston. Proposed landscape improvements, Representative BSS Design. This is a notice of intent, and the file number is 433340. Good evening again, but I would like to get your name just for the record.
Yes, Tom Bunker, I'm the land surveyor of BSS Design. We prepared the base plan for this project. It is
I'm Julie Estevez from Julia Garden Design, designer.
So I can start out with existing conditions. It's on a point, as you can see, surrounded by Papaneset Creek. There's a velocity zone on the east, the right side of the point. BE elevation 14. The creek rounds the corner. It's an A zone on the west side of the point. Most of the point has armoring on it, either there's a stone riprap or there's some timber bulkhead on the southeast side of the point. There, salt marsh on the southeast corner, and then starting up at the point and going around the full west side, there's salt marsh. The entire point, except for a little bit around the larger house, is in the flood zone AE, elevation 11. And thus, any of that land which slopes at greater than 10:1 is considered a coastal bank. We have the coastal banks drawn on our existing conditions plan. The buffer, the 75-foot buffer from the coastal bank, they cross in the middle, so the entire property is within 75 feet of a coastal bank. Do have a couple of offset lines from land under a water body and salt marsh, so there's a little area up the middle which is more than 75 feet from salt marsh and land under the water body, but everything again is within 150 feet of all those resource areas. So we did the existing conditions plan, and Julia Gardens prepared the planting plan. This here is the removals. I can handle removals, but Julia have to talk about all the planting. But there's in the yellow are the various removal areas. There's one kind of rectangular toward the bottom, that's Vinca, which was overbuilt, probably planted over the septic system as a way to vegetate that. Then across the south side of the lower house is an area of bittersweet that I have to come out. On the east side, there's some ivy. Then up toward the top of that, which is off there, off the screen there, on the left side, left east, or rather the right-hand east side of the house is some autumn olive, and then Boston ivy on the northwest corner of the house. And so then, if you look at the planting plan that's been designed for that, well, there's one thing that's not planting. I can say that there's no change in any footprint of the house or the wood walks or anything like that. There is one wood chip path being added on the right-hand side of the house, the house further up on the point, 4-foot wide wood chip path. And otherwise, the only other changes are the removals and then all of the planting, which is shown on here, and Julie can go through what's being put on there.
Okay. So the big picture and the approach for the planting plan is to enhance the current vegetation and to improve biodiversity and create a more anyway, create
A more what?
sorry, I haven't finished my sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear.
Pollinator garden, so to support all the pollinator species from, the full year. And also to create a resilient garden that will take the coastal conditions, and also for the client to create a very thickly, densely planted layered garden so that it's not being overtaken by the invasive species. So I can elaborate more if you'd like, or if you have any questions.
Okay, good. Questions from commissioners?
Can I ask you about, the plan is a little confusing for me, so I was hoping that you could sort of walk us through. I'm familiar with the property. I walked it as much as I could, but there are two structures, two homes.
Yes.
Two different families?
No. Well, as far
One
as I
family,
know.
two homes. So access, is that plant? The checkerboard, is the checkerboard plant?
Yes.
Can't tell from this because they're not color, at least my
Yes,
copy
that's,
is not color
ground
coded.
cover ferns.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Ground cover ferns.
Ground cover ferns. So how does the car get in there?
Oh, so I can walk you through the whole design. That the car, the driveway is the white area before all of the planting plan, and there's a whole circulation pattern throughout the two properties that link the properties. So the arrival area is the first boardwalk. I'm not sure where you can show that, but it's the first boardwalk going to the main house.
The left side.
The left side.
All right.
Going up there, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really the arrival, that's the main entry. And that,
And is that gravel?
that is a wooden existing boardwalk that's there.
Oh, the existing boardwalk, okay.
Yeah, like a
Oh, all
deck.
right, thank you for that, that's helpful.
So you walk through on the deck and the plantings around the deck. Currently, there's miscanthus grass, which we'd like to remove. And we'd want to enhance and cover all the ground and plantings so that there's just some holly, evergreens, also to punctuate the walkway for aesthetic reasons, but also it's really a lot of ground cover to knit together and have a matrix planting. And then as you walk up to the house, the entry of the house is where the deck is, the main deck.
Yeah.
Underneath that whole area is existing little blue stem, which we're not disturbing, and we're enhancing with some, the Solidago, it's the beach goldenrod. Forget the seaside goldenrod in areas, just to some enhanced plantings, but mainly to support what's there. We're not, and then there is an existing gravel walk. There's a lot of Boston ivy in that area. We'd like to replace that with the grow low sumac. So there's some species that are plants that have the cultivars, but I'd say about 80% are straight species plants. And then walking around to the point where the salt marsh is indicated is also currently blue stem. I'd like to add some Antenaria, which is a native host plant for a certain butterfly. And it's a good dry ground cover, so it should be okay over there. And then we go around the deck of the front and going around to where we're adding the wood chip path. And that area is more undisturbed, and we'd just like to enhance what's there with the plantings. And walk around to the brick patio, which hasn't been maintained for a while. So again, it's all really focused on ground covers that will grow together. And from there, we would walk around to the guest house, and that is all existing. There's no gravel there or anything, so it's just the ground. We'd like to add pine needles. There are some cedars existing there, so we just walk around. And there is a beach area that is really weedy right now. So, and there are some Baccharis has already planted itself in that area, so we're just going to enhance those side areas and not just take out whatever's invasive and leave what's native and enhance that planting. And just leave it wide enough where they have like a canoe there or something, kayak, and just leave that. And the guest house, it's a deck also, and there's planting areas in the deck, so they're raised, so we'll just add beach grass, American beach grass. And then surrounding that water side of that beach house we would add the pasture rose, the Rosa Carolina. And currently it's a typical woodland sedge type of ground cover, so we are not removing any of that, we're just planting into that. And there are some areas that had previously been planted with native shrubs, so we're just wanting to make that more enhanced. So, and then walking back around to the driveway area is a walkway, wooden walkway, then the brick walkway. And it's a little elevated, so into the woodland, I would like to add more, just more ferns, inkberries, and some bottlebrush buckeye. And then there was one more area where the leach field is, which has the vinca we talked about. And all the plantings in the middle, it's not really a walking area, it's a viewing area. And we are replacing the vinca minor with wild geranium, so geranium maculatum, which is a native ground cover geranium, butterfly weed, some native asters, and purple love grass. So just another matrix planting that will hold that area and prevent it from becoming weedy. And everything else, there's existing rhododendrons in this whole area too, so it's underneath all of those rhodies. And then the final area is by the driveway, and just another area of where there is existing shrubs. We are planting with paccara and just more ground covers. So it's a ground cover garden.
So I don't see much parking, so I just want to know how you're going to handle that. It looked like it was all, so what I'm looking for, hard to get. I'm pulling up and I want to get rid of my groceries. It doesn't look like I can get that close to the main house.
I mean, it's outside of the parking spaces are outside of this whole property. So
Right.
when I first came here, I just noticed that I didn't know where the main entrance was, so I'm doing that through planting, so that whoever comes there and parks will know which way to go for the main house.
Okay.
But it's all on foot.
They've owned this property for a while and then are used to this
They
parking.
have figured this out.
They figured it out, yeah, they know.
Well, that's cool.
Some people, yeah, it's nice not having the cars right up to the house. I mean,
It is. It's just unusual.
yeah.
All right, I got a few questions.
Yes, Steve.
So, very extensive plan here, Julie. It looks good. I assume that, because this is two separate properties, but it's one septic system out there? Because I'm not seeing that second septic for number 21 on the plan.
There is, I might have to.
Because it just
As
leaves
far
me.
as I know, it's two separate septic systems. Yeah, well, we have on the existing conditions plan, just note the approximate location. It's just to the west of the property line, right
Okay.
next to the boardwalk.
All right, so Is there any accommodation to get access at a septic tank for pumping? Because it looks like the plants are just going right over the tanks.
They have, again, I'm not sure, that's the best information we had on that from the, the tie card. But
Yeah,
some
we
of those
can-
trucks have fairly long pipes for pumping.
Right, but I mean, to get at a cover, so I'm seeing the septic tank on the planting plan, and I'm showing the cover, I'm just seeing about 8 plants on top of it. So you got to dig those plants up to get at a septic tank cover.
So we'll locate where those, we will find where those are when we're on site and not plant over them.
Okay. Next question I have is, I'm not seeing any erosion control along the banks. So I see a lot of plantings at the top of the riprap and along the banks, but I'm not seeing any erosion control, because I know this is gonna take you a while.
Certainly, if you condition erosion control, it'd be the holes to be dug by hand.
Yes.
For most of this, I mean, there's no real heavy equipment going there, but certainly if you feel erosion control is necessary for this planting, then, condition that.
Okay. And then, are all these plants perennials?
Perennials and shrubs, a couple of large shrubs, small trees, there's a
So
few.
no annuals, all perennials?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
All
okay.
perennials, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments? And do we know where that second tank is?
Well, it says, it's probably right to the right of that wood walkway.
The wooden walkway.
Approximate location.
Right.
Yeah, we could do some more research, but sometimes we get these tie cards that purport to show where things are, and they're not always very accurate, but we can.
Yeah, it would be good to locate both of those before you start covering them up with plants that are gonna interfere with the maintenance, right? Okay. Comments from the agents?
Yeah, I think it's, overall, it's a pleasant surprise to see a plan, project come before you that's all about restoration, planting, enhancements of, native habitat and value, so definitely like to see that type of project come forward. As the applicant stated, they'll be, more than willing to site the septic, areas for ease of access and not plant over, so I think that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, good project. Recommend closing issue.
Dan, anything?
I agree with that. This is a good project, especially for plantings, because we tend to see a lot of plantings where they have a lot of the same plantings or just a very few variety. This is something that will absolutely enhance pollinators, especially for the area in town. I know when I stood in the point there, I could see the marina, and that whole area could definitely use for some more pollinators in this region of Mashpee. So it's a positive project for me. I like to see it.
Great. Questions or comments from the public? No? We're good. I would accept the motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for a closing issue for 19 and 21 Bowsprit Point with the following conditions: that septic tank access not have plantings over it and to be determined, and that there be erosion control on the property along the banks, so during construction, we don't have any erosion into the creek, and that monitoring and maintenance of the plantings is recommended. Do you need-
No
You said it.
clarification.
You want to take that off?
I'm not recommending it.
You're not recommending
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because this is not triggered mitigation from development. This is
Right, but your last sentence says it is recommended in the
Then
comments.
that's a typo.
Typo, okay. All right, thanks, Drew.
All right,
Okay,
so no planting contract.
okay.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. So we have a motion to close an issue, first and second, open to deliberations. Anything? Good?
Oh, sorry, Steve, you know what, just a correction, it's not a typo, it's just a recommendation, I just didn't want it phrased as a condition. It's a
Okay.
recommendation, and I'm sure, the contractor is vested in making sure the plantings, do get monitored and maintained. I just wanted to make the distinction that it doesn't trigger the requirement of a long-term extended monitoring and maintenance agreement with a professional contractor, because that's not how this is being proposed as a condition of development. So just to clarify.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else before I call for a vote? We're good? Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great planting plan. Very colorful.
Yeah, very
Well laid out,
detailed.
yeah. You know what, I was going to ask you quickly before you leave. What is the height of a Emerald Sentinel Jupiter? What is the height of that Emerald Sentinel?
Probably 6 or 7 feet.
6 or 7. And then it goes to... I was just curious, because it's drawn much larger than everything else. I was curious. Thank you. Let me make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, I'm going to call the 154 Fells Pond Road, Jeffrey and Justin Cohen. Proposed modifications to freshwater dock. Representative is Shorefront Consulting. This is a notice of intent 433341. Good evening, gentlemen. If I can have your names, we can get started.
Yes, for the record, I'm Mark Burgess of Shorefront Consulting. I am an ocean engineer by degree, and I've been doing this kind of work for about 25 years.
Great, thank you.
Soon to retire.
And I'm Jeffrey Cohen, the homeowner.
Okay, Jeff. Thank you.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, so this is an existing permitted dock. It was permitted in 2015, I believe, and received a certificate of compliance in 2022. All that the applicant wants to do is just modify the outer end of it. Right now, it's a ramp and float. The float is in pretty bad condition, and the applicant just wants to convert this to a fixed landing, so the ramp ends up being a fixed access to the platform, and the platform would be 8 feet by 20 feet. It's rotated to be parallel to the land, and it actually puts the whole structure about 3 feet landward of where it is now, close, so not as far into the pond. These kinds of things are usually, they can be cut in the upland and then assembled in the water, so you shouldn't be cutting directly over the water, right? I would assume, well, we don't know who the contractor is going to be. If it's the same one that did the one, is it 154? Anyway, there's another dock, another platform dock that I did a couple of years ago, just north of here. It's mirrored after that. Reisenberger was the name. I don't remember. Do you know their address?
I don't know the address.
130 maybe? I don't remember the address. Anyway, this is modeled after that, and that project was modeled after another one similar to it across the pond. So that it's in kind with similar situations in the pond. The only other addition is right now there's one handrail going down the steps. There's no construction proposed to reconstruct the stairs. They seem to be fine, but we would like to add one more handrail for safety. As we get older, we get a little less steady on our feet, so it's always nice to have 2 handrails. That is the extent. Well, there's some access stairs to go down in the water too, and those were part of the other project a couple of years ago as well. So they're just access for the purpose of launching a kayak and things like that, to be able to get down off of the platform and either into the kayak or into the water if you want to go swimming. That's the basis of this. Who was out at the site this morning?
That would have been Drew.
Drew was there, right? Anybody else?
I went
yesterday.
Okay. So we may have, we have another issue to talk about, but, which was the vista pruning, which.
Oh, yes, I did notice that yesterday when I was out there. Yeah.
That was my question.
I can address that, we can address that now, or if you want to separate that, we can, if there's any discussion on this, we can do that, and then we're prepared to address.
I would
it.
recommend addressing it now, because it sounds like one of the commissioners has a.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Drew and I have been doing this a long time. We see projects like this. The vista pruning is part of the dock permit, so they do have permission to do it. Unfortunately, this contractor this year went a little overzealous. In reading the order, it's your standard 5 feet is supposed to be. It's down 2 or 3 now. So yeah, he did too much, you know, and Mr. Cohen wasn't around to advise him of, even though it's the same guy, he just went overboard. These things do happen. They are unfortunate. Fortunately, you just let everything grow back. He probably won't be cutting it again until it's 6 feet tall, which could be 4 years from now. It won't be me, sorry. But, yeah, these things are unfortunate, but it will grow back. The pruning, actually, you know, it does promote some new growth and things like that, but basically, nature will take care of itself. Mr. Cohen does want to speak about that, so I'll let him do that.
Well, I just want to apologize. I wasn't here for this pruning. Didn't know what was happening, and then I was equally as surprised as anybody. I don't like it that low, so I'm fully aware of what the obligations are, and we'll make sure that we're in touch with conservation if this next time we do it, which won't be for some years now, because I think it will take a little time. But now that I've seen this problem, that I can remedy it next time. So my apologies. It's sort of my lack of oversight here. So I take responsibility, but so that's all.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
So Dan, that was like clear cut right off. So that wasn't.
Yeah, it looks
That's
like you
not
took
vista
a hedge
pruning.
trimmer 3 feet high and just kind of took anything that the hedge trimmer could cut.
You don't have,
Yeah.
you don't have photo?
So, I do have a brief photo, yeah. So, you can see from here.
That's the one, I didn't get by that one.
So this is the photo here. You can see in the back a little bit, compared to the right side, this is the neighbor's house.
Yeah.
Our neighbor's property, and then this is the property we're talking about. So you can see the difference in height
Yeah.
off the bat. It should not be that low for vista pruning, as you are aware, so, yeah, they do, as I said, they do have the vista pruning corridor to prune. They went a little aggressive this year, absolutely. So the the good blessing here is that it will regrow. You didn't cut it down to the base, nothing of that nature. So it will regrow, something that I would recommend just monitoring for that regrowth. I've seen issues like this occur in the past where, you know, we put a compliance order in and you have to have regrowth go and we come and check it in a year or two. We've never had an issue with not having 100% regrowth back. You know, so that I understand, but again, we wanted to bring it to the attention because it was a little outside of the scope.
agree.
Yeah.
And I believe one of the conditions in the order is that when they go to prune again, whenever that is, that Drew or somebody would have to come out.
Yes, they should be contacting us,
Evening.
just contacting us, and then usually what we do is we discuss with them on the phone, maybe schedule a site visit. In this case, I would recommend doing a site visit. If you want to do it this coming season in November 1st, obviously you can. Please contact us. I would highly recommend to wait a year or two. That's all. Yeah. Okay.
Just a couple of comments to add in on this one. First of all, nobody's mentioned the fact that I'm glad Mr. Cohen's there, and I understand that these things happen. But there is, when you read your permit, and I highly recommend you do, there's a time of year restriction on vista pruning, November 1st to March 1st. This was done outside that window. And furthermore, the plan that you have shows where the vista corridor lines are to show the width of the corridor, and this clearing, this over pruning took place outside of that window partially. The window pretty much encompasses and frames the pathway of the dock, and most of this pruning took place outside of that window. So, unfortunately, you know, this is a situation we run into with a lot of property owners. They simply don't read the conditions of their permit. So, and if you had read them, you would have understood that, you know, where your corridor is, what the pruning protocols are. You could have communicated that to the contractor and stayed within the corridor and within the time of your restriction. So, you know, not reading the permit conditions is not really an excuse. And again, I appreciate you being there, being here tonight to express your apologies, but you know, these are things that could have been easily been avoided by reading the permit conditions. So just wanted to add that in.
And he has a copy of the plan that shows the Vista corridor, so that'll have to be marked.
Yeah.
That should be marked out the next time you go out there to check it out, whether it's you or somebody else. You know, mark the Vista corridor, and then conservation can approve it, and then off you go.
Yeah, that's always what we want.
Another thing I would suggest too, and this is just for the benefit of staff and the homeowner, is have 2 permanent stakes put in at the beginning on the landward side of the Vista corridor and at the seaward side of the Vista corridor. But that way you'll never make a mistake as to where it is again. That could be like, you know, sections of rebar or painted wooden stakes. Rebar is much more permanent and longevity, but I'm going to suggest that as a requirement from now on, in addition to contacting staff before you have a contractor come in, regardless if it's the same contractor or not, every year that you're doing this pruning, whenever it happens.
That's a great idea.
Yep. Okay. Other
Yeah, getting back to the dock, what size are the posts that you're putting in?
I think these are drawn as 6 by 6.
Okay, and they're gonna be driven
They
into
should be
the-
driven.
Okay, into the
Yeah, most of
soil
these
below
ponds
the
are,
water? Yeah.
most of these ponds are pretty cobbly, so you can't really jet them. It doesn't work. You just have to, you can point them, you know, and then drive them in.
Okay, and this is gonna be a permanent dock then?
Yeah. And that's the reason for the 6 by 6 posts. The 4 by 4 posts, if the pond freezes, they're not strong enough to hold up to ice. So,
The 6 by 6 will?
yeah, and that's the same design that was done on, you know, a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Great,
thank you.
Have you picked a contractor yet?
I haven't. I suspect it will be the same contractor we used last time who built the other dock just like this down Beacon Marine.
Oh, yeah, that's Beacon Marine.
Okay.
Yeah, they're top notch. Okay. And you know, I joked about this before, but it's a good pond, but it's not a great pond. So we don't need a Chapter 91 license.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
How much under the 10 acre is it?
Pardon?
How much under 10 acres is it?
Oh, gosh. I can check. That's for certain.
I'm just curious.
Give me 1 minute. Just one. I want to say it's like,
194 is I believe.
is it?
What was the old dock, the other dock?
The other one, no, I'm sorry, no,
154.
Well, that's where we are, right, 154. If you scroll up, stop right there.
194.
It's right next to the park.
194.
This one?
Yeah, 194 has the same dock as what we're,
Oh,
that's
the
what
chair
this
was
is.
asking how big the pond was.
Oh,
asking
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
The pond is 9 3/4 acres.
Wow.
Just shy
Close.
of the 10 acre.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking
Yeah,
at it.
just shy.
Wow, that's not
It's not
10?
on the DCR's list of great ponds in
No.
the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I think it's a great pond.
And one of the questions that I had, it appears as though there's a second path to the water that goes across the neighbor's lot. Is that?
No idea.
That's not, if I can answer, that's conservation land. I think there is no, I think we've let that path close up. It was there maybe back when we originally bought the property, but we don't use that path.
It's actually neighborhood association land, way to water.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Anything else? Questions from the public? No? We're good? All right. I'd accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion for 154 Fells Pond Road for a closing issue with no conditions.
You'll just have to come back every year and apologize.
I'll do that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please don't.
You're last on the list.
Yes, I'm
No,
just
so-
saying, we just want to drive home the guilt.
Okay, so the motion is made and seconded. Any further discussions by commissioners? We'll get this one in before Rich has to go. Okay, let me take a vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So
Thank
we're
you
all
very
set.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I have one more item with the board, and that's a certificate of compliance.
Yes.
Those are 17 Taffrail Way.
Those are coming up next.
Okay, should I just state them?
They don't require representation for those. If there was an approval by the agent as well as the engineer,
You
then
guys are good.
They're all passed.
You're
yeah.
all
Awesome.
set.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome to stay if you want, you know, it's, no, probably not.
I filed about 17
Thank you.
notices this year, I think that's...
Okay, so our first COC is 17 Taffrail Way, Martin A. Bloom trustee, Taffrail.
Rich.
117.
And we did.
have,
Well, I knew we did
one
too.
more notice of intent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Totally out of.
I saw
Okay,
Timber Lane, I was thinking
can
about,
I hold you off for a second?
No, I guess we're not.
17 Taffrail Way is one of my clients. I designed that project, so I don't know if I could vote on that one.
okay, well, no,
No, so that's what I say, if you need
we have,
to there.
we
Okay,
have plenty of
okay,
representation.
that's fine, before Rich left.
Thank you, Rich.
Later, Rich.
Thought
you
you
as
didn't
well.
have to stay.
Sorry about that, I just quickly saw Timber Lane and, because I'm all out of order here tonight. So our
Can we
next one
let
is
Rich go
117
Yes, we
Timber
can.
Lane Drive, Town of Mashpee Conservation Department, proposed treatment and a ratification of invasive species, Santuit Pond, on property located at 117 Timber Lane Drive. Representative is Mashpee Conservation Agent Drew McManus, and it's notice of intent, DEP file number 433335.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, sir. Can I have your name for the record?
Yes,
Sorry.
Rick Mann, Conservation Agent from the town
Protocol.
of Mashpee, representing this project that was applied for by the Conservation Department. So just a quick clarification right off the bat. The reason we're using the address of 117 Timber Lane is not because that's the parcel where this activity is proposed. It is the town way to water where the activity will be accessed. And we have to tie it to a landward parcel for the purposes of recording an order conditions, so should an order be issued. So just to make that clarification at the start. So your resource areas for this project are land under water bodies and waterways. No other resource areas unless you're considering, buffer zone from the water to BBW along the edge of the pond in various areas. But the only resource area that's being where the activity is proposed is land under water bodies and waterways, so that being Santuit Pond. So some of the commissioners may recall, I don't know if there's a couple of commissioners who weren't on the commission back when this was proposed, similarly on Johns Pond. So this is, we realized we were reporting from Mashpee Department of Natural Resources that Santuit Pond has what's called Eurasian milfoil, or variable leaf milfoil, which is an aquatic form of pondweed growing in it, as well as fanwort and a native species called Elodia, which is a native species of pondweed. But milfoil and fanwort are notorious aquatic invasives. Milfoil was present on Johns Pond. This was a couple of years back when I brought a similar application before the commission to treat and eradicate milfoil on Johns Pond. And that project is still ongoing. It's mostly been eradicated, but you need spot treatment follow-up, anytime you're dealing with this type of situation, as it can easily be reintroduced, unfortunately. So you want to, extend consideration of treatment over the long term for situations like this. But getting back to Santuit, the pond was surveyed. After we received this report from DNR, we reached out to the same company that we contracted out to handle the situation on Johns Pond, that being Water and Wetlands LLC. And you should all have in your packet the summary of the findings and surveying and recommendations for treatment as well as a GIS plan with cross-hatching showing the areas of the pond that have been infested with these invasives based on the last surveying that was done. The plan does not need to be stamped, surveyed, engineered, anything like that. It's really just indicative to show and illustrate areas of infestation based on a survey that took place. When I filed for this notice of intent, it was under an ecological restoration project because the treatment of invasive species under the Wetlands Protection Act is considered a limited project and in the interest of ecological restoration. So the notice of intent that was filed included what's called an Appendix A, which includes, a lot of information about projects in the interest of ecological restoration and improvement to water quality. So those who aren't familiar with milfoil, I'm sorry, I believe there are some images in the packet to show you what it looks like, but if it's not brought under control quickly, it will inundate and take over entire water bodies regardless of size. It won't reach into areas of significant depth, but Santua Pond has an average depth of 6 feet, so you couldn't think of a better candidate for absolute inundation than Santua Pond. So this is urgent when it comes to getting on top of this problem sooner than later. Sandwort, to a lesser extent, is still an invasive but not as aggressive as milfoil. And then Elodia, this was brought up by DNR and also some residents of the pond who recreate the pond, mostly canoeing and kayaking. Again, it's a native species, but it's grown so robustly in certain areas that it's actually become a nuisance. So you can have forms of vegetation that are indeed native but reach nuisance levels and start to compromise recreational opportunities like canoeing and kayaking. And they've also, the Elodia has led to clogging up some of the valves associated with the solar bee floating units out on the pond that are put in place to try and improve water quality, water clarity. So the Elodia has become a nuisance in certain areas. And in other areas, it grows at normal levels. It's kind of ironic because the solar bees help to keep the phosphorus, which is mostly in the pond sediment, from mixing with the water column. Because when phosphorus mixes with the water column on windy days and you get wavy, choppy kind of conditions, that's what spurs the growth of algae, which can lead to cyanobacteria blooms, which is a very common occurrence on a pond like Santuit, which is heavily impacted by nutrient loading. So to keep the Elodia from interfering with the solar bee's job, that's very important. And because the solar bees have had some success in what they do by keeping the water clarity, water quality clarity very clear, that actually in turn allows for sunlight to penetrate deeper down to the bottom sediments, which spurs the growth of Elodia. So it's kind of an ironic situation, but it is what it is. So the details as far as the type of aquatic herbicides that are used for these particular species is in your packet. I can go over them and answer questions about them, but they are very target specific. They don't have a long kind of shelf life in the water once they're applied, and it's done by calculated dosage based on target areas. The company Water and Wetlands has significant experience in this area, and they do the proper calculations to determine the proper dosage and application of aquatic herbicides. And all of these herbicides are approved by DEP to help deal with invasive species on the Commonwealth's freshwater bodies. So that is all in your packets. And with that, I'll wrap it up and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay. Questions from commissioners?
I've always wondered what we did when something like this happened, and now I know that Drew has to be the town. So nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay. And is this the same group, Drew, that worked on John's Pond?
It is, yes,
Yeah.
the same contractor.
Yep.
And they're going to have to do, because the survey that was done was back in 2022, and I apologize, it took a long time to kind of put together a rig before you. So they are going to have to do a more recent survey to see if the spread has changed from 2022. It probably hasn't changed all that much, although I'm sure the milfoil has probably spread beyond the original scope. So they would start out with a new survey, follow-up treatment. There's always reports that come in prior to any activities and subsequent to those activities. And one of the things that I would recommend, like we did with John's Pond, if the commission issues an order of conditions, is to issue those orders for a span of 5 years. Because like I said, projects like this, inevitably there's regrowth. Eradication is mostly successful, but it's rarely 100% successful. And the chance for reintroduction, is an ever-present threat. This is something that would benefit from a longer shelf lifespan of an order of conditions.
Okay, great. Questions? Anything else? We're good?
Good.
You all set, Dan?
Yeah, this is absolutely needed for this pond right now. As Drew stated, it absolutely is, and it's been effective in John's Pond, so.
Yeah, that's it. Questions from the public?
We just noticed, I'm Larry Ginsburg.
You have to come up to the microphone, sir, so that people at home can hear.
Larry Ginsburg, I live at 191 Timber Lane Drive, right on the pond. And I noticed on the diagram there was a red section. Does that mean that's the section that's being treated? I live there, but I was just curious about what happens with the rest of it.
So, I can answer that. That is the area that was identified as having various levels of infestation of invasive species. So those areas that you see in red cross-hatching would be the areas that would be treated for this invasive species. And I should go further to say that we do plan to post, advance notice of treatment at public landings. We can't post it on every private property, but and we can post it on our website too. And anyone, I'm going to reach out to the Friends of Tend to It Pond group to let them know about this. I think they were previously notified, but it's been a while. And not only that, I plan to attend a meeting of the Mashpee Lake and Pond Lake and Pond Committee. It used to be Mashpee Pond Committee only, but now it's for all lakes and ponds in Mashpee. And reach out to them to let them know about this as well. So we'll try to get the word out as best we can.
And we're all for it, so I just wanted to, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further questions or comments, I would take a motion.
Okay. Chairman, make a, close an issue for 117 Timber Lane Drive, Town of Mashpee Conservation Department, with the following conditions: that the order condition be issued for a period of 5 years to allow for follow-up treatments and warranted, and then submission of a post-treatment report and surveying along with any recommendations.
Okay.
Per Drew's requests.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marjorie. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion by commissioners? Hearing none, roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes, sir.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so that carries unanimously.
Passed
Thank you very
everything
much.
tonight.
Thank you. What's that?
We passed everything tonight. There was not one continuance.
Boom, boom, boom,
I'm trying to clear the slate here.
Huh?
Okay. So Steve, you're going to recuse yourself for this next?
Yeah.
COC?
Yeah, I can't vote on that one, so.
So, Neil, I'm going to have you vote on this one. All right. So the first COC is 17 Taffrail Way, Martin A. Bloom, trustee, Taffrail Nominee Trust, request for certificate of compliance for order of conditions 433075. The representative was here earlier but didn't need to stay. Shorefront Consulting. And this is past inspection with no issues. So I would take a motion to issue the COC.
So moved.
Thank you, Sandy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marjorie. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion by anybody? We're good? All right, roll call vote. Neil? Yes. Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so that motion carries. Our next COC is 69 Shoestring Bay Road. Jane Lassour and Carrie Lassour, trustees of the LaSauer Nominee Trust, request for certificate of compliance for order of conditions 433135. Representative is Baxter Nye Engineering. According to the agent's comments, this did pass inspection. However, it had a minor deviation with the driveway layout noted in the COC request letter from the engineer. So should that be of any concern to us, Drew, or would you like to comment on it?
Yeah, it was a driveway layout that wrapped, the expansion was to wrap around and encompass a storm drainage for the driveway. So I consider it to be extremely minor and had no impact on the resource areas or any of the performance standards for the resource areas present on the site. Very, very minor deviation.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Drew, I got a question on this one. I was out there the other day and took a picture. I'm looking at the retaining walls. And behind the retaining walls is a little bit of bark mulch, and then it's just all open area. It looks like they dug apart some things. And you can see, like access down, heading towards the shoreline down there. So
Right.
what was your thought on that? Was that anything in the plan for that area?
So they did come back and request, they had an arborist come out. I told them they had some concerns about trees that were leaning towards the house beyond, seaward of the retaining wall. So I came out during a site visit, took a look, tried to get an arborist out here to make an assessment because it wasn't clear if the trees were dead or not, but they certainly had, varying degrees of lean towards the house. Arborist came out, assessed, submitted a report recommending that the trees be removed. In that area, actually, I did recommend to them to, just as compensatory measure for the loss of those trees, because I'm sure they were impacted by the construction activity, to add some more plantings in that area, so that will be forthcoming. And the pathway down to the water was part of the plan of record and subsequent order of conditions.
Okay, so how about right behind the retaining walls? Is that where they said they're gonna put in more plants? Because it's pretty bare there.
Yeah, that's the area. That's
Okay.
It's like a perfect candidate area for more plantings, because it is pretty barren.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, if we approve the COC, we approving everything, or are they just gonna work with you guys on it?
Yeah, that's what I recommended, that they work with us. They are planning to do this, and in fact, this spring, because it's the prime time to do it, so I've been in contact with them recently to schedule another site visit with the contractor they've hired to install these plantings. They're all varying degrees of berry producing native shrubs, so that is forthcoming.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, I would accept the motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second?
Thank you, Marjorie. Motion made and seconded. Any further concerns? We're all set. Then I'll take a vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. One last COC request is 87 Hoopole Road, Mark A. and Cheryl L. Rogers. Request for certificate of compliance for order of conditions 432974. Representative Falmouth Engineering, Inc. Comments from the agent are that this has passed inspection and the ongoing mitigation conditions will be attached to the COC. Did I have a 3-year contract on it, Drew?
5 years, actually.
5 years.
Yeah, this was that recent failed DOT inspection not too long ago that.
Right.
Exchange bond was the other. So, good on the homeowner for fast acting and getting a restoration ecologist on the job to come out with, conduct a site visit with staff, and then immediately turn around and do all the planting that was neglected to be done from the original order of conditions. So I did conduct an inspection to see all the plantings are in place. But yeah, that extended 5-year monitoring and maintenance will be attached as an ongoing condition if the commission approves this COC request.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, then, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Motion to issue. Steve, is there a second? Marjorie, thank you. Motion made and seconded. Further questions, comments? None? Okay, roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So that clears that slate. I'm going to back up to the discussion on pre- and post-hearing agenda items. We have a deed release for Lot 3, Santuit Lane. This information was sent out to everyone so that you could take a look through and see what this issue was all about. The quick and easy explanation is that there was an engineering or surveying error in part of the house and part of the garage and shed, I believe, were not on the owner's property. So rather than move buildings, the town and the owner came to a deal for a land swap, if you will. I think the only difference is 1 square foot, something like that. So it's like taking part of the conservation land and awarding that to the owners of Lot 3, and part of their Lot 3 is being given over to the town as replaced conservation land. My question on it was the shed itself, because that has to get off of town land, and it is off. It's been removed already. Drew told me that it was taken out last year, and so most of the native plants are starting to grow back already, so there doesn't appear to be any need for mitigation for the footprint of the shed itself. Given the fact that the select board has approved this, town meeting approved it, I forget what the year was, Drew, for the town meeting, 2022?
2022, correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was approved then, and select board has signed off on it, and we're the last ones, so that's our issue tonight. So I would accept a motion, unless there's any questions or concerns.
So
I
moved.
would accept a motion to sign this deed paperwork.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
First by Steve, second by Sandy. Let me take a vote on that. Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we'll get all the signatures on that, Drew, and I think we can put that one behind us.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Drew, I had a question for you. You sent out something for 228 Waiting Place Road about a path, and I didn't see it here in the discussion, so.
Yeah, so we decided to, because I believe, Paul, you and I corresponded on this, and
Right.
we wanted to have it on the May 22nd.
Push it off a week.
That's where it's been,
Yeah.
that's where it's been placed.
That's that rundown cottage right on the beach? Is that?
Yeah, the one, last house right before you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Last time was a rundown?
He's got
There's all ivy growing on the walls, and yeah, it's.
They had actually a permit to do something. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know
wa-
what they're doing.
The plan that Drew sent was for a new house there, but,
Right.
you know. I
What's
was
the
like-
address?
228 Waiting Place.
Yeah.
It's right to the right, yeah.
It'll be on the November, May 22nd.
Yeah.
Next. With the length of tonight's meeting, especially with all the sewer stuff, I thought it would be beneficial to move it to 22, to give everybody a chance to take a look at,
I
what
think
this
that's
issue
an
is about.
excellent idea.
Yeah, and the property owner agreed, he has no problem with that,
Good.
with that date, so,
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
Good. Oh, is this for me?
Thank you.
This one.
Okay, we have a couple of sets of draft minutes here. The first one is February 6th, 2025.
Thank you.
And, hold on, I gotta go back to my other list here to get the names. Eligible to vote on that would be Paul, Steve, Sandy, Marjorie, and we're all here for a quorum, so did you have a chance to look at those? And
Yeah, I remember reading that one, yeah.
On the 291 Monomoskoye,
Right.
on that, there's not a vote.
I was just going to say that, yeah. No, it's all right.
So,
So we have a correction?
yeah, that's correction. The vote wasn't recorded. Who voted what on it?
All right, so let me make sure that Alyssa is aware of, I can see her scrolling over there in the corner.
Yeah, 291.
291.
Everybody signed?
Everyone.
Everybody.
Oh, whoever voted, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Whoever voted.
No?
I'm sorry, Marge, that was my bad.
See?
You're right.
Only
whoever
the
voted.
important commissioners get to just
Thank you.
Jim Scott has to sit on the bench.
Still on the bench.
Okay, Sandy, did you have any other edits for those minutes?
Yeah,
or-
this is for the 20th?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, for,
Six.
the 6th, the 6th.
Oh,
Oh, is
okay.
it the 20th?
Yeah, well,
Oh.
yeah, 291.
Huh?
Was it on both, 291?
one that, the 291, I don't see it on
That-
the 6th.
Okay. I might
That's
have been-
20th too, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm like, I'm looking here, I'm like, I haven't.
No, 6 was
My
fine.
mistake,
Like
my
six was
notes.
good.
It's all right, I just want
So
to make
the-
sure I
So we're good on the 6th?
Yep.
Okay. So I would accept a motion then to.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Second?
Second?
Thank you, Marjorie. Motion made and seconded for those minutes. All those in favor, let's see. Steve?
Yes.
This is the 6th.
And you have no
There's,
no changes?
there's no changes on those. Okay?
Yep.
Steve's vote is yes. Marjorie?
Yes?
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So those minutes are in.
I'll
Now
explain it
we'll-
in a sec.
Will you tell me afterwards?
No, I'll explain to everyone in a sec.
Now we'll go to the 220 hearing, and eligible on those are
Can't
Paul,
remember when I
Steve,
ran
Sandy,
11 o'clock today.
Marjorie, and that would be a quorum right there. So now that's the one with the issue.
Yep.
That's the one with the which?
There's 2
You've
issues.
got an edit, right?
The February 20th?
Yeah.
Okay, 291 on Moss
Boy,
Boy. I did not include the vote.
Yeah.
Okay, and
And then,
was there something else, Sandy?
yeah, 90 Willow Road. You had Alex seconding it.
90 Wheeler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve made the motion, and then I think you had Alex seconding?
No, I have Marjorie.
Marjorie, okay, so it was Alex.
Okay.
Trying to take away
Okay,
my
so
second.
Marjorie gets changed to Alex. And is that it on those?
23 Wilson Grove. Steve made the motion and Alex seconded it. I think you had Rich.
So the edit is to change,
Who made the motions?
who made the motion? And it's Steve?
On 23 Wilson Grove, it was Steve and Alex second.
And Alex with the second. So you've got those, Alyssa? Because I'm going to ask to approve these with the edits. That way we can get
Good.
it off our agenda,
I have some,
No
as long as
objection.
she's got those. You good? Okay, so I would accept a motion to approve those minutes with the edits as stated.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thank you, Marjorie. Anything else before I call? No? Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes?
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so we can take both of those off the agenda. Water quality issues, does anybody have anything? I see herring on the screen.
Oh, so I'll explain this real quick. I got this photo sent to me this week. So these are 2 herring up in Mill Pond that are going into Wakeby Mashpee Pond. They just passed the fish ladder. This on the side is a lamprey. That is a threatened species in in Massachusetts, and it is native to the Mashpee River. I haven't seen it yet. It is a
at
brook
that.
lamprey. It is the only non-parasitic lamprey that exists.
Wow.
So it feeds within the first 5 months of its life, and then it never feeds again. So it's hitching a ride here to get into Wakeby Mashpee to find a sandy bottom to go breed.
Does it
Wow.
have a partner, though?
It will find it in the pond. They don't travel together.
No,
They
okay.
just travel like this, so it's, who knows how they get up there. So this is fantastic to see.
Yeah, I thought those were blue whales.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, so.
If somebody got the picture, you have to wonder if there were others.
This is a phenomenal photo. The herring run this year as well, we are seeing amazing numbers.
That is so cool.
So it's really nice to see.
I did see a video, I forget who took it, on Facebook, and it was mesmerizing. There's so many of them.
So many.
You
My-
couldn't
my-
even see the bottom of the stream.
It was my intern's last day today, so I had him go out and do counts at every herring run, and he got 87 in 10 minutes over at Santuit Pond, 40-something over at Mashpee. We're getting counts of 100, 200, 300 Not consistently, but almost every day.
And what's happening at the Santuit run? Are they still backing up?
They are backing up a bit, but they are passing much better than they did last year. Drew went in and adjusted a lot of the rocks, the gravel. There was some runoff that was becoming an issue that we fixed. As well as the inside of the ladder, he adjusted so the water is flowing at a much wider, so the velocity is just a little bit slower, though it doesn't look it, but it makes a huge difference. Literally, when Drew did that, adjusted it, the fish started passing almost immediately.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
So, yeah.
Great. That's perfect.
Mr. Chairman, I do have
Yes.
just a brief announcement to make, if that's okay.
Sure.
So, bit of sad news, our administrative assistant, Stacy Ducharme, is moving on. Her last day is next Thursday. And I just wanted to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for everything she's done for the department. I know Stacy doesn't want to make this a huge deal, but I just want to express how incredible she's been in her position and how skillful she is, and her level of organization is something that, I appreciate very, very much, and has been one of the best administrative staff people we've ever had in the department. So she will be greatly missed. I'm not going to get into any reasons. That's her own personal business.
Yep.
So just wanted to express Stacy all the best and appreciation for everything she's done for the department.
Well, I'll certainly echo that, Drew. We've had a lot of conversations, and she certainly can facilitate almost any request that I've had over these last 3 years as chair.
Yeah, she's done a great job.
Yeah, it's been great.
Well, I would like to add that she will be very difficult to replace. She's
Yeah,
very,
it's going to be
very
definitely-
talented.
That kind of brings me to my next just brief statement or just notification that the volume of work that Stacy takes on and all the administrative staff at Town Hall is pretty significant. So we're going to ask for the commission's patience moving forward because Dan and I are going to have to shoulder all of this work. So in light of this, Mr. Chairman, at our May 29th quarterly meeting, I would like the opportunity to present the permitized software. This is in regards to, signing off of other departments on various permits, checks and balances. And I would like the opportunity to present that at the May 29th quarterly meeting for the commission's edification, because we're going to have to get creative on ways to save time to do our
Sure.
own duties and take on administrative staff duties. So it's
Yep.
definitely going to be a challenge, and the last time we had administrative staff position leave, it took 7 months to fill that position.
Wow.
So we're going to have to make some cutbacks, and in the interest of efficiency and time, and we appreciate the commission's understanding in that regard.
These new ones?
We'll make it happen. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Dan, is there anything, or Drew, that you would like to add on? We have the comments on the updates, but if there's something you want to...
Yeah, just real quick, of course, the event on Saturday, this past Saturday, to go over all the major restoration projects in town, the Red Culvert restoration project, Upper Quashnet restoration, and Upper Mashpee restoration of the Herring Run. We had speakers, myself included, to present all of these projects and tables with information. We had a great turnout, and I thought the whole day started at 9 o'clock, 9:30 on Saturday morning, went till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I felt it went very smoothly, and it was a great community outreach event. Took place at the tribal headquarters. And tribe was fantastic in facilitating that, all of that for use of the venue, and all the technological aspects of it, setting everything up. So, big shout out to the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe and Natural Resources Department for facilitating all that, and all the partners that put that together. So it's a good event overall.
It was. So a lot of people there. A lot of commissioners were there.
Sure.
Yep.
A lot of
Exactly. And then just real quick, tomorrow there is a Harbor Management Committee meeting. Sorry for the last minute notice, but that is planned for tomorrow. I believe it starts, do I have it in here? Yeah, 9 a.m. in the Hoya conference room. Yeah, if anyone's interested.
Okay.
Back here.
Okay. I have nothing else to add under communication, correspondence. We're all set with that. Additional topics? Think we have anything that needs to be brought up? So I would entertain.
Now, we were talking about reorg, right? Are we?
Yes. As many of you know, we reorganize the commission each year, and I think by procedure, that needs to happen by the end of the fiscal year. So I'm looking down the road, so to speak, and I know we have some critical things coming along. We have a lot of business starting to stack up on the 22nd. The 29th, I believe we have an executive session hearing on the 29th for our quarterly meeting at the very beginning, and I know Drew now wants to do the permit Is, and I'm looking for a slot to put Regulation 25 out there for public comment. So I'm thinking the 29th would probably be the best fit for that, the way I'm looking at it now. And then that would leave us 2 more meetings before we would have to definitely reorganize. So I would like to try to get that on the schedule for the 29th. Reorg, we get that towards the end of June. I know on June 12th, I will not be available. I'm going to be out of town that date. Steve has already agreed to chair that meeting.
I won't be available on the
Oh, and that's right, Sandy.
22nd or the 29th.
You're
yeah.
going to be away for a couple of meetings. So we got a lot of gaps to fill in here, but I am targeting reorg for the June 26th meeting. So
To vote
those,
on it, right?
yeah, so those people that are thinking about, you know, they would like to sit in this chair, and somebody I hope does, let me know, and we'll get these nominations going, and let's get it done. Of course, vice chair and clerk as well. And then once the new chair comes in, that chair could start thinking about the reorg for bylaw review subcommittee, representatives for EOC, and CPC. And I think that's it for our responsibilities. Oh, no, the co-management subcommittee.
Yes, which I have been making some
Conservation
headway on. So
They're going to talk to us?
I spoke with them, yes.
Sure.
I just wanted to get clarification, Paul. You said you wanted the public comment hearing on Reg 25 to be on May 29th?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best place to put it, because we're running out of time.
No, understood, but at the last meeting, you had identified May 22nd. And that's what we've been telling people.
Oh, okay, I didn't know what the 20, I know we had an,
I put out the 29th for your consideration in an email to you and Steve last week.
Right.
I didn't hear anything back, so I assumed the 22nd was what you were going to stick to.
okay, let's do it then. The sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I ask,
because it's all adopted and ready to go.
I'm going to miss that.
That's 22nd.
so
That's all we
speaking of
got.
Regulation
Okay.
So public comment
25,
purpose.
I got an email yesterday from Poppy, Save Poppy Bay, that they were having the meeting. You remember last meeting, their chairperson came and asked us as a commission to do
That
a
was not this.
public meeting, right?
That was for the Papaneset Beach Association,
Papaneset-
not the Save.
Oh, not Save Poppy Bay,
Yeah,
Papaneset
yeah.
Beach Association, I stand corrected. That they have scheduled a meeting and that someone is speaking at it. So I'm wondering if any of you have agreed to speak at a meeting?
I have not heard anything about it.
No?
No.
No?
Yeah, I was invited. Marjorie, John Malloy had reached out to me to speak at the meeting. I did agree to it. It's 10 a.m. this Saturday. And my intention is really just to go and explain, you know, what the revisions are, and the performance standards for land subject to coastal storm flow, and then answer any questions the audience may have.
Okay.
And I will attend because I am a PBA resident.
Because you have a what?
Because I'm a PBA resident.
Oh, you're a PBA resident?
Yes.
Okay, good, so we'll have 2 of us there.
And just reiterate our process. We've been following the process that
Following
we
the
have it.
process.
Yeah.
That Drew and I sat before the select board back in last June, I think
year,
it was, in
yeah.
July. And that's what we're doing. We're following the process.
I just wanted to make sure that we were all sort of involved in it because we had, apparently, he went back to his group and said, but they put in their email, the Conservation Commission, despite being asked, refused to do a meeting, but, so we're gonna have our own, and we've invited someone, so Drew, represent us well, but I just, I
have a
felt
right.
a little uncomfortable.
Sure.
Since they're my neighbors, and I wanted, you know, I think we've been very open as a commission.
Yeah, we've met with them, despite what they say.
And, yeah, Paul's met with them, Steve's met with them, I've met with them, so.
Marjorie, feel free to attend.
No, that's just it, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think that they've had more attendance and attention from the Conservation Commission than any other group, so I just want to make sure that we're all aware.
Yep.
Yeah, good luck. Tape it for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
I'm not in charge of taping, but thank you.
Okay.
Real quick comment. I looked into the question you had the last time we met, about having someone on CPC for advisor, so it could be an associate member, as long as they're on the commission, they can be on the
they can be
CPC.
a liaison to
Correct.
one of those committees. Okay, great. So if you,
Okay,
whatever
if it's in
interest you
order,
have.
Are we doing that now?
No.
You have to wait till
Or,
reorg.
I think
Yeah.
quarterly.
Okay.
Quarter, yeah.
Quarterly, you went to reorg at the quarterly, you said?
No, on June 26th.
June 26th, okay.
June 26th. Because Sandy won't be for the quarterly. I'd like to have.
I will note that now, okay.
I'd like to have
Or
all
the 22nd, if you
voting
want to write it
commissioners
down, then
on
we'll have to let you know.
26th.
No, I'm,
Yeah, 22nd and the
That's
20th.
the goal.
okay.
Scotland.
Okay.
Jealous.
All right,
Well, if
so-
it's in order, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Steve.
right,
Motion made and
Marjorie.
seconded. Further discussion? None?
Nope.
Steve?
Yes.
Marjorie?
Yes, sir.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Bang.